See Circle Calendar 1520. Level 1 of Impertin Deep Sea Prison. The clown Buggy was getting up from the cold floor in a daze. At this moment, he is cold, his body is cold, and his heart is also cold. He looked at the sea stone on his hands and the prison uniform on his body in disbelief. In any case, he didn't expect that a few minutes ago, he was still sitting on the toilet at home, brushing the latest information about pirates, and the scene where Buggy was beaten by Hawkeye and the sand crocodile. 2 weeks ago, as a sea fan, he felt ridiculous for a long time after seeing Buggy become 4 emperors. But there is no way, he still prefers the role of Buggy. Therefore, he also shouted that sentence at the same time as countless sea fans. This era is called Red Nose. Unfortunately, everything is as he thought. Buggy is still Buggy after all. Although there is luck, it is impossible to become 4 emperors by virtue of strength. When he saw Buggy being beaten by Hawkeye and Sand Alligator, he couldn't help but sigh while sitting on the toilet. Unexpectedly, I just flushed myself on Buggy just by pressing the time to flush the toilet. If it wasn't for the cold handcuffs, the screams of the prisoners around, and the intact memory of Buggy in his mind, he would have felt that it was because was too tired from work that he fell asleep sitting on the toilet. All this is a dream. Only after slapping himself twice and realizing the pain, he reluctantly accepted the reality. Why? Another long sigh came from Buggy's mouth. Although I was a social animal in my previous life, I lived in a stable society where food was full, clothing was warm, and there was no war. Although there are contradictions of one kind or another in society, this or that 500,000, this or that. Forget it, don't mention it. Anyway, can it be worse than it is now? Compared with the current world of One Piece, China is like a paradise. He's starting to feel bad now. More than an hour passed, and he still couldn't touch his mobile phone. Mobile phone, how can I live without you? Who is bad for time traveling, but time traveling to this Buggy? After all, Buggy has the lucky color hockey by his side. After his soul wears, can he still have the good life of Buggy? For a moment, he felt a little downcast. Especially for some unknown reason, after Buggy was arrested and taken to prison, he hid his devil fruit ability, which allowed him to escape from the prison easily. But what he locked on his hands now was a pair of real sea stone handcuffs. As for why he knew these were sea stone handcuffs, one is that Buggy's memory has been completely absorbed by him, so it can be said that he is now Buggy. Second, the handcuffs made him feel weak. It is completely in line with the role of sea stone handcuffs. It can be said that because of the butterfly effect of his soul wear, Buggy was locked by sea stone handcuffs. Isn't that the end of the calf? Locked by sea stone, how can I get out of trouble? Is it possible to wait for Luffy to come to the rescue? The point is that Wong Luffy is not reliable. If it is in the theatrical version, you can look forward to it. But now this timeline is obviously in the normal TV series. This kid is very cheating. Why? Sighing again, Buggy, who was thinking about how to get out of the predicament, suddenly froze. Ding dong. A voice that seemed to be a reminder from a certain treasure Alibaba suddenly rang in his ears. I'm super. Could it be? Buggy sat up in shock from the dying illness. His eyes were full of surprises. Was the cheat he had shouted an hour ago and had no response for a long time finally coming? Sure enough, God was not joking with him, and the system message really rang in his ears in the next second. Story change settlement panel is at your service. As long as you change the plot of a stage, you can get a settlement reward from the system panel. Congratulations, you have obtained a copy of Newbie Gift Pack. Would you like to open it? Seeing the light blue virtual light curtain floating in front of his eyes, Buggy was a little dazed. Did cheat really come like this? At this time, what appeared in front of his eyes was a non-stop beating pattern of a lucky bag gift bag in the center of the virtual light curtain, which looked like it was madly telling Buggy to open it. After hesitating for 2 seconds, Buggy raised his hand and tapped on it. Wow. Immediately, a burst of fireworks special effects scattered, and a few things scattered from the Newbie Gift Pack, floated in front of Buggy's eyes. Congratulations on obtaining Elementary Observation Hockey Experience Book. Crush the Experience Book to master this ability. Congratulations on obtaining Elementary Armament Hockey Experience Book. Crush the Experience Book to master this ability. Congratulations on getting Entry Level 6 Styles Experience Book. You can master this ability by crushing the Experience Book. Congratulations on your acquisition Torn Devil Fruit Derivative Version, Gildart's Smash Magic Template. Do you want to load it? Hiss. Cheat. Late but here. Seeing this scene, Buggy gasped in shock at the 24K pure oxygen in One Piece world. This cheat is like a young model in a club. If you don't change the batch, you will never know which one suits your taste best. Swallowing his saliva, Buggy raised his hand and grabbed the floating Elementary Observation Hockey Experience Book. This is a holographic book that is also glowing with a light blue phantom, but it has a sense of seeing the real thing when you start it. Buggy just exerted a little force, and the elementary observation hockey experience book in his hand turned into a light particle and fell into his mind. Seeing this, Buggy closed his eyes subconsciously. A few seconds later, the knowledge and usage of observation hockey instantly appeared in his mind, as if it belonged to him. With the thought, the situation of the prison on the first floor of Impleton was roughly presented in his mind. Just the next moment, Buggy's eyes widened suddenly, because he found a boy with a straw hat hiding on the ceiling. "I am Super. It's you, King Luffy. Luffy is in jail, which means the plot has begun." Snapped. But Buggy is not in a hurry. Even if the plot starts, he is not in the slightest panic now. He first mastered the skills of this novice gift pack, thinking that he crushed the elementary armament hockey experience book again. After mastering armament hockey, he didn't hesitate, and immediately crushed the entry-level 6 styles experience book. A few seconds later, Buggy suddenly felt a surge of energy pouring into his body, and his body seemed to have become a bit stronger, which reduced the powerlessness caused by the sea stone. He also learned the 6 styles. Although it's just getting started, at least there are no obstacles in using it. Like the previous observation hockey, the 6 forms have levels, namely, beginner, skilled, grandmaster, and grandmaster. Buggy received this information when he got the experience book. Conqueror's hockey levels are divided into beginner, intermediate, advanced, super. Among them, the representative of advanced observation hockey is predicting the future. As for the super observation hockey representative, it can achieve knowledge killing, or a more special knowledge color. The advanced armament hockey is the armed chromatic body represented by emission. As for the super armed color, it is an armed color called armed tongshen. He has not seen the specifics. Even if it didn't appear in the original plot, it was only emission at most. And Conqueror's advanced level is to reach the winding level. As for super, it is still unknown for the time being. I have to say that these 2 experience books brought him a lot of hardcore knowledge that Buggy didn't have in his head. No way, who made Buggy's head full of ideas about how to hunt for treasure. Next is the template for this, Gildart's Smash Magic. Buggy stared at the template derived from Chop Chop Fruit. Whether I can get out of trouble, I'm afraid it all falls on this template now. Start loading. As Buggy's voice fell, there was an immediate movement in the system. Ding dong. After a beep, Buggy felt a huge energy pouring into his body. In the next second, Buggy was shocked to find that after the energy poured into his body, which was originally only 192, was changing rapidly. At the same time, information about the ability of Gildart's shattering magic flooded into his mind. It's not just as simple as smashing magic, there is also a fairy tale Holy 10 Magister level power and combat experience injected into it, and then assimilated by the system panel into a combat system suitable for this world. This time it took a full 5 minutes before Buggy slowly opened his eyes. Only this time, he had a smile on his face. Sure enough, everything went as he had imagined, and his hope of getting out of trouble fell on this loaded template. Immediately, with a thought in Buggy's mind, a blue virtual light curtain appeared in front of his eyes, and a wooden board with Buggy's personal information appeared on it. Name: Buggy. Codename: Clown. Height: 258 cm. Original 192 cm. Physique: Flying Knife Grandmaster. 6 forms getting started. Hockey. Observation Hockey Beginner. Armament Hockey Junior Lucky Color Hockey Max. Devil Fruit. Paramecia Chop Chop Fruit. Fruit Stage. Awakening. First Embrace, Liberation, Awakening, Mastery. Fruit Ability. First Embrace, Liberation Level, Basic Fragmentation Ability. Awakening Level. Gildart's Smash Magic Template plus Fragmentation Ability. Release the Fruit Ability and fly in the sky. There is no longer a limit of 200 meters and the feet must stick to the ground. Awakening skills. Break down. Break up and rearrange the structure of matter. No matter what attack moves can be decomposed. Using it on creatures will make them split into many mini-clones, making the opponent lose their fighting spirit, causing their physical energy to decline rapidly, and can be blocked by armed colors. Full breakdown. Use the magic power characteristic to carry out a large-scale powerful attack. Range attack. Smash. Changeable casting forms and no magic circle present. Release a wide range of shockwaves or flying lattice objects with one hand. No matter how hard the external structure is, since the definition of shatter magic is to break the atomic connection from the inside, therefore, as long as it is a tangible object, unless it is a dragon scale that is immune to most magic, or magic, except for the nullification magic that changes the essence of magic, it can be instantly shattered at the will of the caster, but the creature will splash when it comes into contact with this magic. Blood. So Gildarts doesn't use this magic to fight people, but fights with melee instead. Breaking evil and showing righteousness one day. Concentrate the magic power in the fist and knock the opponent into the air to increase the acceleration, unless it encounters gravity magic and air obstacles. No matter what magic can be crushed, its power is so powerful that it can instantly knock the opponent into the air, an uppercut that is thousands of kilometers away. If the opponent flies too high, the body will be crushed in the air due to the faster and faster speed. Awakening skill. Breaking evil and showing righteousness Juishin, the enhanced version of breaking evil and showing righteousness one day. The damage is very high, directly hurting the body, no matter what kind of fruit. Awakening skills. After seeing the information on his personal panel, the corners of Buggy's mouth could not help but rise slightly. This feeling of becoming stronger is really great. Compared with Gildart's smashing magic template, even observation hockey, armament hockey and the 6 styles are too inferior. Because the shattering magic he has mastered is equivalent to Devil Fruit's ability in this world, but it is not restricted by seawater and seastone. This shows what? Crush. Following Buggy's low shout, a burst of white light glowed on his hands, and then, the seastone handcuffs locked on his wrists slammed, turning into small gravels and falling to the ground. Immediately afterwards, the feeling of soreness and weakness disappeared in an instant, and strength suddenly emerged from the limbs. With Buggy's current height of 258 centimeters, with a little force from him, the masonry on the ground burst into cracks immediately. Ha 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 ha. After feeling the changes in his body, Buggy immediately raised his hand and pressed his face, raised his head and let out a wild laugh. From then on, the sea is wide and the fish leap, and the sky is high and the birds fly. World. Here I come. Break down. Hum. When Buggy was less than 1 meter away from the iron gate of the prison, with a silent recitation in his heart, a white light flashed around him, and the iron gate in front of him directly turned into countless small square iron bodies with a diameter of 2 centimeters and fell on the ground. On the ground. Ding ding dang dang. For a while, there was a sound of metal and iron clanging in this empty dungeon alley. Sheila. Buggy casually walked out of the prison, picked up the strip of prison uniform torn from the sleeve, and casually tied his long blue hair into a ponytail. After erasing the cross skull mark on his forehead, all that remained of his face was the hideous clown makeup. With a round red nose and a big scarlet mouth that smiles upwards, coupled with the fact that his height has risen to 258 centimeters, the well-proportioned Buggy gives people a strange sense of oppression. Can you become stronger by changing the plot? If that's the case, let's find the little guy Wong Luffy first. If you really want to count, I should count him as his uncle? Haha. A smile appeared on the corner of Buggy's mouth, and under the clown's makeup, this smile became even more insolent. Wong Luffy, your Uncle Buggy is here. In the next second, the information was swept away, and immediately locked on the location of Luffy at the moment. Immediately, under the stunned comments of the prisoners in the surrounding cages, Buggy walked away from the stone path between them. They didn't react until Buggy's back was almost out of sight. Wow. Suddenly, there was a burst of exclamation and noise from the prison cages on the left and right sides. I'm super. Isn't that Buggy? It's true that he looks like Buggy, but why does he seem to have grown taller and stronger? Am I wrong? It should be Buggy, that's right. As for growing taller, maybe it's secondary growth? Nothing wrong? I almost thought I was wrong just now, damn it. How did this guy get out? I'm super. Lousy was almost led astray by you, no matter how he ran out, let him let us out as well, bastard. Ah, yes, Lord Buggy, please let us out too, please. Master Buggy, please, save us. However, no matter how these scumbags begged, Buggy's figure showed no intention of staying. Seeing this scene, the original begging immediately turned into insults. Buggy still didn't care the slightest bit about it. He wasn't afraid that these dregs would cholera the world after they got out. For Buggy, there is no sense of belonging in this world. It doesn't matter if you are messing up the sea and destroying peace. What he wants to do now is to change the plot, to get the rewards of the panel settlement, and then become stronger. In this troubled world, save his own life first, and then talk about other things. Of course, the main reason why he didn't bother to release these people was that they were too weak. Coming out has no effect, but will delay his next series of plans. Beep beep. However, Buggy had only walked 100 or so meters away, and the red alarm of the phone bug sounded on the first floor of the entire deep-sea prison, which was a reminder that someone had escaped from the prison. Ha ha ha. It deserves it. I told you not to let us out. Damn Buggy, you still want to escape from the deep-sea prison? Dream? Go to hell, bastard clown. Ha 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 ha. I have to say that seeing Buggy's escape was discovered, all the prisoners in the rear prison burst into laughter. Only this time, Buggy had disappeared from their sight. On the other side of the deep-sea prison, Luffy, who has been hiding on the ceiling like an ape and jumping around, heard the alarm below, and he couldn't help but whispered in surprise. "Hey, have I been discovered? You guess." At this moment, a joking voice sounded behind Luffy. This made Luffy, who was already a little frightened, let out an exclamation of "ah," and then fell directly from the ceiling, hitting the ground directly and making a dent. But of course this has no effect on Luffy, who is a Nika. But when Luffy looked up and saw the figure of the man floating in the air, he was stunned for a moment, and then several images flashed back in his mind, and he screamed. "Ah! You're Buggy." Whoosh! Buggy flew down from the ceiling, grabbed Luffy by the collar and lifted him up to the second-floor intersection, while saying, "Guess right. There is a reward. Bastard. Let me go." "Eh? What reward?" Luffy, who had been picked up by Buggy and kept struggling, suddenly lit up his eyes after hearing his last words, and looked up at Buggy expectantly. Even if he knew that Luffy was a very nervous person, Buggy couldn't help being speechless for a few seconds, thinking that you were going to save your brother. At this time, you still have the mood to care about this, right? Suppressing the desire to complain in his heart, Buggy shook his head and said, "Don't you want to save Ace? Take you there, just as a reward for calling my uncle my name." "Hey. Are you taking me to Ace? Buggy? You're such a nice guy." Luffy held the arm holding his collar with a moved face. "Buggy. As expected of you, my little nephew." As for why the little nephew? The eldest nephew is of course Ace. He is one of the crew members of the Roger Pirates. Ace called him Uncle Buggy. Is there anything wrong? It makes sense for an uncle to save his nephew, right? Whoosh! Thinking of this, Buggy sped up a few more times, and at this time he had already brought Luffy to the edge of the first floor of Crimson Hell. When he saw the big hole below, he opened his mouth and said, "See that big hole down there, Luffy?" "Saw. That's the entrance to the second floor. Hurry up, little nephew." "Uncle, I need to speed up." "Eh? Little nephew? Why do you call me little nephew, Buggy?" "Ace is my eldest nephew, aren't you my little nephew? No matter how old or young, Uncle Buggy." "Hey. Are you Ace's uncle? I was rude before." "Hello, Uncle Buggy." A child can be taught. Ha ha ha. Boom. Boom. 10 seconds later, Buggy and Luffy stepped on the ground at the same time. "Here, boy. This is the second floor of the deep-sea prison, Wild Beast Hell." Buggy's knowledge spread, and soon he locked on the person he needed to find. "Hey. Uncle Buggy, is this called Wild Beast Hell? Where is the beast? I didn't see it." "They will come out later, but before that, let's save someone first. Having him will increase the chance of saving my nephew Ace by 10%. While speaking, Buggy immediately turned around and flew in another direction. Luffy, who was still looking around nervously, immediately became serious after hearing that the chances of saving Ace could be increased, and ran after Buggy. "Is there still such a person? It's amazing. Thank you so much." Buggy, who was flying in front, spread his hands when he heard the words. "You know, as the uncle of the two of you brothers, it's impossible for me to ignore death." "Wow. Uncle Buggy, you are such a good person. It was really a private Marseille to beat you up before." The corner of Buggy's mouth twitched. He almost forgot that the good guy was beaten by Wong Luffy before. Soon, after flying around a few corners, Buggy was the first to stand in front of Mr. 3 Gardino's cell. Wow. The sudden appearance of Buggy caused some prisoners in the cell to exclaim in shock. Galdino, who was sitting there with his head down, didn't even want to move. After being imprisoned in the deep-sea prison, he felt that his heart was dead, and he could not see any chance of escape. But at this moment, a strange voice came from outside the cell door. "Hey. Mr. 3, do you want to come with me? If you haven't completely become a useless person, I can consider taking you out of this cage." What? The long-lost title Mr. 3 made Galdino suddenly raise his head, and then he saw a tall figure standing outside the iron door of the cell. What shocked him the most was that this tall figure was wearing the same black and white striped prison uniform as him. Seeing this scene, Galdino was completely shocked. "Smash it." Boom. But before he could answer, he saw the seastone gate turned into countless dust and disappeared in front of his eyes. Gudong. Seeing this scene, the screaming prisoners completely fell silent. How? How is this possible? That's the seastone gate. Also, you're Buggy the Clown. Everyone exclaimed. "Go away. You are blocking my sight." Looking at the group of people standing in front of him, Buggy frowned. "Ah. Yes, sorry Lord Buggy, let's get out of here." After hearing Buggy's words, the prisoners in the cell immediately stepped aside with interest, revealing the figure of Mr. 3 Gardino sitting on the bed. "Call out." Boom. In the next moment, A white light shot out from Buggy's index finger and hit the sea stone handcuffs on Mr. Three's hand, directly turning the sea stone handcuffs into specks of dust. Hey. I said, Mr. Three, you must not be a complete useless person, right? If that's the case, I will be very disappointed. Buggy looked at him calmly. Gudong. Sensing the pressure from Buggy, Mr. Three swallowed subconsciously. He really couldn't believe it. Is such a man really the clown Buggy who only offered a reward of 15 million Baileys? Or, this man has been hiding his strength all these years? What is his purpose? The deeper you hide, the bigger your ambitions. Clown Buggy, let me see what you have been hiding your ambitions for all these years. These thoughts flashed through his mind. Mr. Three soon had a decision. He stood up slowly, pushed his broken glasses and said, a man like you came here to look for me on purpose. You must have taken a fancy to my fruit ability. Forget it. Since you saved me, I, Galdino, will sell my life to you. Nani, you are the Straw Hat. How can it be? Why are you here? Did you get caught too? Mr. Three, who had just finished the cool pass, didn't hold on for a few seconds, but was startled by Luffy, who ran to Buggy's side, so that his eyeballs and tongue protruded at the same time. Hey. Who are you? Do you know me too? Luffy tilted his head, looked at Mr. Three suspiciously, then turned to Buggy and said, Uncle Buggy, who is this guy? Good guy. I call him a good guy. You sent people to prison, and now you forget who they are, right? It's not important. Let's go. Hurry up. Go to the 3rd floor now, replenish food, and change equipment. Buggy waved his hand casually, too lazy to explain so much to Luffy. Mr. Three, who was shocked by Luffy just now, immediately turned to stare at Buggy. Hey. What do you mean it's not important anymore? Anyway, I'm also your new recruit, so pay me more attention, bastard. After it was over, he tugged at the 3 hairstyle on Luffy's head and shouted. Show me clearly, Straw Hat Boy. It's me, it's me. Oh .. Luffy clenched his fist with a dazed face and smashed it on the palm of his left hand. It's you. 3. What 3? I'm Mr. Three Gardino. Remember it for me, you bastard. Mr. growled at Luffy. Seeing this scene, Buggy couldn't help but helplessly raised his hand to his forehead. Ding dong. Congratulations on completing the first plot change. The mission is being resolved. The settlement is complete. Congratulations on getting Intermediate Conqueror's Hockey Experience Book. I am super. Buggy, who was still a little helpless at first, was pleasantly surprised by this sudden task settlement. It's okay to give rewards, but why did you give me the Intermediate Conqueror's Hockey Experience Book? Can you still give it like this? Past the elementary level at once? Could it be because this is the first panel settlement that changed the plot? Anyway, my cheat is a bit different, however, I like it. When he just thought of this, Buggy was startled suddenly, because the Intermediate Conqueror's Hockey Experience Book that popped up was directly suspended in front of his eyes. Since he can see it, what about the others? Looking back, Buggy was relieved to see that Luffy and Mr. Three who were looking at him didn't respond. It seems that only you can see this panel system. This is much more convenient. After crushing the Intermediate Conqueror's Hockey Experience Book, he waved at the 2 of them and said, Go. The jailer has found us. Hurry up. Deep Sea Prison, Monitoring Room. Buggy, the pirate clown, escaped from prison and rescued several capable criminals. Hurry up and ask Director Magellan. Wait. The one with him is my super. Isn't that the supernova who beat the celestial dragons, Monkey D. Luffy? Why is he here? They went to the 2nd floor. Damn it. This guy is releasing prisoners. That person is Mr. Three Galdino from Baroque Workshop. He is also Demon Fruit Power, and the situation is a little bit bad. Quickly, call the director. I'm going to call the director, and you release all the beasts from Wild Beast Hell. Okay. Let's do it. Beep beep. Following the panic-stricken arrangements of several jailers, one of the jailers directly opened all the cages where the ferocious beasts were held, allowing all the ferocious beasts in the Wild Beast Hell on the 2nd floor to rush out in one go. Buggy, Luffy and Mr. Three, who had just walked to the entrance of the 3rd floor, suddenly stopped. Because in front of them, there was a big lion like a hill, with gray body, white hair, and embarrassing face, blocking the way to the 3rd floor. Ah! After seeing this beast, Mr. Three immediately screamed. I told you a long time ago, be careful. This guy is the strongest beast on the 2nd floor, Sphinx. Aha! Luffy also heaved a sigh of shock. This guy is so big and powerful. Rumble. But before they could move, there was a huge movement from the left and right sides in front of them. This made the 3 of them glance over involuntarily. I don't know if I don't look at it, but I almost scared Mr. Three away when I saw it. Even Luffy opened his mouth wide at this time, full of shock. Because in the smoke and dust on the left and right sides, it turned out to be all the beasts in the second floor of Wild Beast Hell. Seeing this scene, the prisoners who had shouted to follow Lord Buggy took the initiative to lock themselves back into their cells. Ah, it's not good, Uncle Buggy. After seeing this scene, the nervous Luffy also shouted nervously. What shall we do now? However, compared to them who panicked, Buggy not only didn't panic at this time, but showed a touch of excitement that was eager to try. Well done. I just want to try the level of Intermediate Conqueror's Hockey. With this in mind, Buggy waved his hand, calmly filled his glass and said, It's all right, they're nothing more than dust to me. Gudong. Seeing such a Buggy, Mr. 3 swallowed in shock. At the same time his heart was roaring, okay. Death is death. Let me see what kind of strength you, a man who has been hiding for decades, have. Luffy, who had been rambunctious before, became serious when he heard Buggy's words, standing behind Buggy and looking at Buggy seriously. Plain noodles. The Sphinx, who had been facing away from them, seemed to sense something, and turned around at this time, confronting a group of monsters rushing from one left and one right, and Buggy alone. But in the next second, with Buggy's eyes fixed, a powerful aura of purple-black lightning carrying it swept out from the front of Buggy, sweeping hundreds of beasts and sphinxes in front of it instantly. Then, under the horrified eyes of all the guards in the monitoring room of the deep-sea prison, as well as Luffy, Mr. 3, and a prisoner behind. Those hundreds of ferocious beasts, as well as the king of beasts, the Sphinx, all with white eyes, thumping, like dominoes, fell to the ground and fainted one by one. In less than 10 seconds, the hundreds of ferocious beasts tens of meters away in front of Buggy, as well as the king of beasts, the Sphinx, all without exception were so shocked that they rolled their eyes and passed out. In an instant, the whole space fell into dead silence. Until a few seconds later. Wow! A shocking noise sounded from among the prisoners in the rear. Hiss. God! What did I see? What did I see? Insta-kill. Hundreds of ferocious beasts. That's a Sphinx. They were all instantly killed by that man. What did he do? What the hell did he do? God, it's horrible. Is this Buggy the Clown? Is the Clown Buggy also your name? It's called the Clown Emperor Master Buggy. The Clown King. The Clown King. The Clown King. Like these shocked prisoners, all the guards in the monitoring room of the deep-sea prison also opened their mouths in horror. It's a pity that Buggy is destined to pretend to be seen by the blind. Because the level of people who saw this scene is still too low, they have not even heard of Conqueror's Hockey. After a while, a jailer put his head in his hands and yelled. Quickly invite Master Director. Boom. At the same time, the huge wooden door more than 10 meters high on the third floor made a loud noise when Buggy approached it about 1 meter away, and disappeared into countless specks of dust before their eyes. See Gooey. Master Buggy, what kind of power was that just now? Is this your hidden true strength? At this time, Luffy and Mr. 3 have turned into little fans and shouted behind Buggy. I didn't mean to hide, it's just that each of you doesn't know my true face. Buggy waved his hand casually and said, Let's go, the third floor, starvation hell is here. Find another person, then replenish food, change equipment, and we can go to the fourth floor. Alright, Mr. Buggy. Oh, long live Uncle Buggy. It's just that the two of them hadn't been excited for a long time. After entering the third floor of starvation hell, they immediately withered like dried radishes. No way, the third floor is too hot. Neither rubber nor wax is a good place to go. The two of them walked forward with their heads down and tongues out, and they didn't pay attention to Buggy who stopped in front of them. They bumped into him back and forth with 2 bang-bangs. Oops. Eh? Master Buggy, why don't you go? I'm looking for someone, wait a moment. Buggy ignored the 2 listless guys, and with a thought, observation Hockey immediately spread out. After some searching, he quickly locked on to the target. Here I have to say that the color of knowledge is really easy to use. After taking a look at these 2 languid guys, he sighed, then split his left and right hands directly, holding the 2 guys by the back of their necks and spiraling up to the sky. Whoosh, ha ha ha, fly up. Uncle Buggy, you are really strong. Hey. Can Master Buggy still fly? Where are we going? It's so hot, I'm almost melting into wax paste, Master Buggy. Luffy and Mr. 3 exclaimed in excitement. Buggy ignored the 2 guys, and flew directly towards a cell locked by the knowledgeable color. At the same time, the monitoring room finally got through to Magellan's phone. The 6th floor of the deep-sea prison, Eternal Hell. Boom. Crackling. With the opening of the iron grill of the elevator door, the oppressive atmosphere in the deepest part of the entire deep-sea prison came head-on. The Eternal Hell on the 6th floor is not as noisy as the other 5 floors, but has a strange sense of death. Soon this eerie dead silence was directly broken the moment Magellan and the others walked out of the elevator with Boa Hancock. Ooh. What did I see? Magellan, have you finally figured it out? Brought us such a sexy and beautiful woman. Ha 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 ha, Magellan boy, are you finally enlightened? Not bad, not bad. Woman, woman, woman. Lousy wants a woman. Magellan, send this woman here quickly, or I will kill you. God. This woman is so beautiful. Damn Magellan, punish me with such vicious means. You deserve it. How can it be repaired? Is this the feeling of being able to see but not eat? Magellan, you are really damned. The 6th floor of the entire deep-sea prison is like a frying pan at this time. Countless hundreds of millions of big pirates were lying in front of the seastone cage at this time, looking greedily at Boa Hancock, who walked slowly among them. Hancock, who was originally impatient because her hands were locked by seastone handcuffs, now heard the foul language from the big pirate prisoners around her, which made her even more angry. After walking forward for tens of meters, she suddenly stopped. Magellan and the flying squirrel vice admiral, who were following her on the left and right sides, looked at Hancock's side face with puzzled faces. Before they could ask, they heard Hancock's furious and coquettish voice. You rude trash, shut up for Asia. As Hancock's scolding voice echoed in the 6th floor of the eternal hell, the noisy pirates became even more excited. However, before these big pirates opened their mouths to utter obscenities again, a powerful aura burst out from Hancock's body and swept the entire eternal hell in an instant. Such a powerful explosion caused Magellan, Vice Admiral, the Flying Squirrel, and others behind him to widen their eyes in shock. And Magellan's secretary Domino and a few jailers who were following them rolled their eyes and fell to the ground with a plop. The originally noisy eternal hell seemed to be instantly shazoon, and once again fell into a strange silence. Magellan and the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral had a shadow in their eyes, and their faces were full of shock. Conqueror's hockey. This woman, as expected of the Pirate Empress, does she have such a terrifying spirit? After the two of them whispered, there were a few more voices that seemed to come from the depths of eternal hell. Tisk ha ha ha, Magellan, you have brought another amazing guy, Pirate Empress. No wonder you have such courage, not bad. It's a pity that such a young girl will be locked up with us old men. Stupid. This woman is Shichibukai. I guess she came here for some purpose. How could she be locked up with us? But this woman is really beautiful. Did we have 2 Shichibukai here in one day? Fun, fun. As these voices gradually disappeared, there was no foul language from the surrounding cells. Snort. Seeing this, Hancock flicked his long hair and walked proudly forward again with graceful steps. This is the treatment that the strong should have. With such conquerors, even women will be respected by everyone at this level. This is a world where the strong are respected. And at this moment, blue blue blue, there was a sudden sound of a phone bug in Magellan's pocket. This made him stunned for a moment, then he took out the phone bug, and just as he answered it, the jailer's panicked voice came from inside. Ah. Great, it's finally connected. Is that you, Director Magellan? Huh. Magellan frowned, feeling that the matter was not simple. It's me. Director. Something is wrong. Clown Buggy has escaped from jail. He rescued several prisoners, all with devil fruit abilities. There's also a Monkey D. Luffy out of nowhere. That's right, the same supernova that knocked out the celestial dragons not long ago. He is now following Mr. 2 Bentham and Mr. 3 Galdino, the original Baroque studios led by the Clown Buggy, to ransack the 3rd floor starvation hell's no room. They seem to be going deeper to rescue someone. What should we do now, Director? Wow. The terrified roar of the jailer facing the lifelike imitator of the phone bug spread directly in the silent eternal hell, causing an uproar. Someone escaped again. Clown Buggy. At this moment, the big pirates on the 6th floor of eternal hell deeply remembered this name. No matter how strong or weak this Clown Buggy is. Can you escape from prison in Impleton and come down to save people without retreating? Just this boldness is enough for the big pirates present to remember this name. Nani. When Magellan heard the news, he was so angry that his whole body was filled with a layer of venom. He yelled at the phone bug. Isn't that Clown Buggy locked up on the 1st floor? How could this kind of guy break through to the 3rd floor in such a short period of time? You guys fell asleep and forgot to let the beasts out of starvation hell? Hearing this, the jailer on the opposite side had a hint of panic in his tone, and said in a trembling voice. No, Director. Director, of course we unleashed those beasts. Even the beasts have gathered with the Sphinx, and hundreds of beasts have confronted that Clown Buggy. But the confrontation lasted for less than 10 seconds, and that Clown Buggy didn't know what he did. In just a split second, the hundreds of ferocious beasts passed out. Director, that Clown Buggy is horrible. Director, I heard their conversation. That clown Buggy, he is going to take Monkey D. Luffy and his party to the 6th floor to rescue his eldest nephew, that is, Fire Fist Ace. He is the eldest nephew of Buggy the Clown and the older brother of the Straw Hat. Director, they are too strong. Sadie-chan, the warden chief, and Saru Daisy, the prison chief, can't stop them at all. In just a moment, they all passed out. Clown Buggy, this man is horrible. We can't stop him at all. They are going to the 4th floor soon. Director, no. Not good. Prisoners from other prisons have also come out. We can't stop them. Director, what should we do? Ding dong. Congratulations on completing the 2nd stage of the plot change. The task reward is being settled. The task rewards have been settled. Congratulations on obtaining the Intermediate Armament Hockey Experience Book. Buggy, who was eating and drinking with Luffy and the others in the kitchen on the 3rd floor of the deep sea prison, suddenly saw a virtual light curtain protruding in front of him, and the voice in his mind made him move while eating meat quickly. Suddenly, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He raised his hand casually and pinched the Intermediate Armament Hockey Experience Book, and then the experience book turned into a light particle and fell into his mind. Soon, a more proficient grasp of armament hockey will become apparent. This made Buggy very satisfied, and he didn't spend so much energy in vain to save Mr. 2. Looking at the 3 people sitting in a row opposite, interacting frantically while eating, Buggy couldn't help showing a smile. Bon Clay interacted passionately with Luffy for a while, and then turned his head immediately, murmured promises to Buggy with tears streaming down his face, and at the same time chewed a big piece of meat in his mouth, and knocked on Buggy. Seeing this, Buggy couldn't help but waved his hands dumbfounded. Alright, don't come here. If it wasn't for your value, I wouldn't save you either. Now that you've joined my team, then make good use of your value. Master Buggy, I will definitely give full play to my best value. Thank you very much for saving me from hell. You can also let me meet my best friend again. Woo. This guy from Bentham burst into tears as he spoke, and then he suddenly changed his expression and said, But Mr. Buggy, is it true that you said you would take me to meet the legendary king of Shemale Emporio Ivankov? Although you just said it casually before, she has been my idol since I was a child. I don't doubt what you mean, but I also asked about her after I came in impelled down, but no one has heard of her. Many people said that she might have died long ago. After all, she had been arrested for several years. At the end, Bon Clay's horseface was full of disappointment. Don't worry, he won't die even if you die. That guy Ivankov is alive and well. Buggy got up and walked to the dressing room beside him, saying, Okay, I can't tell you the specifics. Anyway, if we want to escape from prison, his help is indispensable. Hurry up and eat, and go to the 4th floor to find Bonus immediately after I change my clothes. After hearing Buggy's words, Bon Clay and Mr. 3 were stunned for a moment, and then they all made a sound of surprise, and said in unison, Mr. 1. A few minutes later, changed into a white shirt, a black tie vest, a pair of black trousers and a pair of high-top short leather boots, and a black cloak, Buggy came out of the dressing room. There are also revolvers stuck in the left and right sides of his belt. Coupled with his blue ponytail and the clown makeup on his face, it has an extremely arrogant and wanton feeling. Seeing himself in the mirror, Buggy nodded in satisfaction. No wonder the sand crocodile in the original plot of the previous life ran to change his clothes as soon as he was rescued. Sure enough, people rely on clothes. Although Buggy can't be considered very handsome, but with a little tidying up, he still looks much more comfortable than Luffy, Bon Clay and Mr. 3. These 3 people are either the 3rd level disabled 1.7 meters of Pirate World, or have horse faces, or have a 3 on their heads. I have to say that there is really a sense of sight of Crouching Dragon and Phoenix Chick. Against the backdrop of the 3 of them, it's hard for Buggy to be handsome. Especially after being pierced by his own soul, Buggy not only changed his height and body shape, but also his momentum and temperament. I'm afraid even if the redhead comes, it will be difficult to match him with the former Buggy. With these in mind, Buggy didn't hesitate at all, but raised his hand and said, Go to the 4th floor. Oh. The 3 of Luffy standing behind him excitedly agreed in unison, and then the 3 of them quickly ran forward behind Buggy with a huge piece of meat in their hands. Ignoring the 3 reincarnated starving ghosts behind, Buggy flew close to the ground while thinking about the feasibility of his follow-up plan. After rescuing Bon Clay, it can be said that 1/3 of his plan has been completed. After that, go to the 4th floor to rescue Mr. 1 Bonus. In this case, his team has 5 demon fruit power. Although the members of the Baroque studio have limited strength, they are of great help to his plan after the escape. These people are all high-level executives of the former Baroque studio, and they will play a certain role in the operation and construction of future forces. As for developing into a peak combat power, Buggy never thought about it. It is already very good for him to have this cheat to raise his own strength to the peak level of combat power, but for now, it is really difficult to help others improve their strength level. After saving Mr. 1, Buggy is ready to use his smashing ability to break directly from the 4th floor to the 5th floor, and then go straight down. In this case, you can stagger with Magellan first, then find Ivankov on the 5.5th floor, and use Luffy's identity to convince him. This should be regarded as changing the plot to a certain extent. After all, the confrontation with Magellan was staggered in the middle, and Ivankov was found directly. Thinking of this, Buggy nodded secretly. Although his strength has improved very quickly, Buggy still can't figure out what kind of water he is in terms of his current combat power. If it is divided by marine combat power, he has at least the level of an elite vice admiral, right? Perhaps the gap with the elite vice admiral is just above the 6 forms. After all, he is still only the entry level, 6 forms. But he also has the bonus of fragmentation, fruit, and the bonus of Gildart's smash magic template. With the addition of these two, Buggy even feels that his strength has reached the quasi-admiral level. Specifically whether this is the case, we will have to wait for the subsequent confrontation with Magellan to get the result. Yep, Buggy was going to have a fight with Magellan from the start. If he wants to survive in this troubled world of pirates, he must learn to fight against the strong. Magellan is the first hurdle he needs to cross. Thinking of this, Buggy showed a confident smile. It has to be said that Conqueror's hockey not only provided Buggy with confidence, but also enhanced his strong spirit. Yes, if even Magellan is afraid to face, how can he face the 3 admirals in the follow-up battlefield? Okay, Marshal Sengoku. I don't have any problems here, Fire Fist Ace you can take away anytime. Let the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral and the Ghost Spider Vice Admiral wait outside to escort Fire Fist Ace to Marineford, right? Yes. Naturally, we at Impleton will fully cooperate. Prison riots. Don't worry, Buggy the Clown, it doesn't matter, I'll do it. Slap. After Magellan hung up the phone with a serious face, he turned his head to look at Hancock and suddenly showed a piggy face and said, "My Lord Empress, have you finished reading this? HMPH. Nasty man, stay away from I's house." Hancock didn't reply to Magellan's words at all. After taking a deep look at the shocked Ace, she flicked her waist-length hair and turned around towards the elevator entrance. Ace, who was sitting in the cell, was in a daze at this moment. He didn't think that the pirate Empress would travel thousands of miles to deceive him. Also, it's impossible for a woman with Conqueror's hockey to do such a boring thing. Especially when this kind of stupidity really looks like something Luffy would do. This made Ace's forehead full of cold sweat, who was originally determined to die. He doesn't care if he dies, but if his brother is hurt. Haishia Jinbei, who was in the same cell as him, naturally also heard what the Empress said before. He looked at Ace, who looked a little flustered, and opened his mouth but didn't know what to say for a while. Break into the deep-sea prison to save people? Hearing this kind of words, the first thought in Jinbei's mind was, it's over. Ace's younger brother is also over. Why, for a while, only Jinbei's sire remained in the prison. Click. Squeak. But in the next second, the cell door was suddenly opened. Afterwards, Jinbei and Ace looked up at the person coming with some astonishment. It turned out to be Magellan and the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral walking in, and then the former sneered at Ace. I don't know what kind of brain circuit you pirates actually ran into the deep-sea prison to rob it. That's right, it's about you. Fire Fist Ace. Your brother Straw Hat somehow broke into Imperton and is teaming up with Buggy the Clown and those guys from Baroque Studios to come down and save you. Originally, I wanted to wipe out that group of people in front of you. Although Marshal Sengoku wants to send you away early, I feel very sorry. But I suddenly wanted to see, when the Straw Hat Boys came to this eternal hell and found that you had already been sent away, their faces. Ha 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 ha. Wow. Ace, whose limbs were locked by the sea stone in front, struggled violently when he heard this, but he didn't say anything. Vice Admiral, a flying squirrel on the side, said speechlessly. Director Magellan. What you said sounds like a villain's speech. We are a government agency anyway, so it's not good to speak like this. Ahahaha, is it? Magellan scratched and smiled honestly. Maybe I was stunned by those little mice who escaped from prison, hee hee. While speaking, he directly pulled the sea stone chains that locked Ace's limbs, lifted Ace up and walked outside, and at the same time looked at Ace with an evil smile and said, anyone who enters Imperton will die a terrible death. Swish. Ace turned his head and stared at Magellan suddenly when he heard the words. His eyes were extremely fierce, he gritted his teeth and growled. If you dare to hurt Luffy, I will kill you. Hum. After Ace finished speaking, a wave of Conqueror's Haki suddenly burst out from his body and swept around in an instant. Although this Conqueror's Haki was much weaker than Hancock's before, it still rolled the eyes of the marine soldiers and jailers who had just been awakened from a coma and fell to the ground with a few plops. Seeing this scene, the faces of Magellan and the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral instantly darkened. They never thought that this Fire Fist Ace also has Conqueror's Haki. Just as they thought of this, someone sighed in the depths of eternal hell. Hey, is Conqueror's Haki so worthless now? Any kid can have it? It seems that even after 20 years have passed, the times outside are still extremely exciting. It's a pity, it's still too weak. I'm afraid he hasn't exercised this strength at all. Ha 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 ha. Amidst bursts of hoarse laughter, Magellan and the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral took Ace to the elevator with a cold face. The other side. The fourth floor of the deep sea prison, blazing hell, the prisoners lying all over the place next to the magma pool. Among the group of prisoners, there was only a strong, bald man standing there stunned, watching this scene with disbelief. After a while, he turned his head in disbelief and looked at the man standing tens of meters away, wearing a black cloak and holding a cigar in his mouth. If it weren't for the smiling face in front of him and the eye-catching blue ponytail, he would have wondered if it was his original boss who caused all this in front of him. No, my original boss didn't have such strength and courage. This is a Conqueror's Haki that can only be born once in millions of people. However, the face with clown makeup made him dare not face the man with the Conqueror's Haki in front of him with the face in his memory that only had 15 million Bailey on the reward order. However, the facts are right in front of us, therefore, there is only one truth. This man has been hiding for 10 or 20 years, so he must have a powerful and terrifying ambition. Now that Whitebeard is preparing to go to war with Marine, the pattern of New World may be greatly shaken. That's why Mr. 2 and Mr. 3 talk about the new era. So, is this man aiming at the throne of the New World? Yes. If not, why should he endure for more than 10 years? If not, how could he have such a powerful and terrifying Conqueror's Haki? This series of thoughts made Mr. 1 a little distracted for a while, and he was a little vacillating, which made him murmur subconsciously. Buggy the Clown. No way, no way. After hearing the words of Mr. 1 Das Bonus, Mr. 3 on the side immediately pointed at him and shouted. Mr. 1. What nonsense are you talking about? Clown Buggy is your name too. He is our future boss, the supreme king of the new era in the future, the Clown King Mr. Buggy. That's it. Bon Clay echoed while circling. Daz-chan, our Lord Buggy saved you and gave you a second life, are you going to deal with it like this? With your appearance, how can you go to the new era of the future with us? Or have you been worn out by blazing hell, Mr. 1? Call. Following Bon Clay's last utterance, Mr. 1's body shook, and then he exhaled a long breath. His eyes immediately became sharper. He first glanced at Luffy, and finally set his eyes on Buggy. Boom. Immediately, Mr. 1 knelt down on one knee under the stunned eyes of several people, knelt on the scorching ground, then slightly lowered his head and said, Master Buggy, thank you for giving me a second life. From now on, I, Daz Bonus, is willing to try my hand at the knife, to be the king's forerunner, and to clear all obstacles on the road to King Buggy. Buggy was actually a little confused. He didn't know how to solicit and solicit. This guy was about to test the knife with himself and become the king's pioneer, suddenly. Although I don't know what this guy has imagined, but it seems that the effect is good. Sure enough, the people in the Baroque studio were not much different from the personalities I knew in my previous life, and they all valued benevolence and friendship very much. In other words, Mr. 1 has the highest upper limit among Baroque studios. Especially his dice fruit ability. As long as he is taught to learn 6 styles and Haki in the future, he will definitely become a terrible killing machine. If his strength had reached the level of a swordsman, he would be able to unleash countless slashes with a single stroke. It can be said to be a humanoid slashing machine. For now, Mr. 1's upper limit is the one with the highest upper limit among Baroque studio members in his team. Of course, the premise is that Lao Sha does not join him. For this, Buggy is not worried. Now the top 3 masters of Baroque studio are all in their team. With Lao Sha's temperament of calculating behind the scenes, he probably wants to poach people away. At that time, he may passively join him first, waiting for the opportunity. With his current strength, Lao Sha didn't even have a chance to resist. The ability of Logia Sand Fruit alone is not enough for Buggy. Especially after mastering the Gildart's personal template. Not only has Buggy's fruit ability improved, but his own physical fitness and physical skills have also been greatly improved. You must know that every magician in the fairy tale world is a melee master. Without a strong body, it is impossible to become a magician of the Holy 10 level in the world of fairy tale. A magician like Gildart's, who was missing a hand and a foot from the beginning and was able to be so powerful, did not just rely on smashing magic alone. With these in mind, Buggy waved at Mr. One and said in a deep voice, "I accept your allegiance. Arise. We have more important things to do now." "Yes, Lord Buggy." Mr. One heard that, although he still had Seema's face, his tone revealed excitement and excitement. Seeing this, Luffy on the side suddenly said excitedly, "Uncle Buggy, now we are on the 4th floor, doesn't that mean we can find Ace on the next floor?" "Uncle Buggy." Mr. One on the side was stunned when he heard Luffy's words. Why is this Straw Hat Kid called Uncle Buggy? And the Ace he mentioned, could it be the Fire Fist Ace, the captain of Whitebeard's second team who was captured? So they turn out to be going to Fire Fist Ace? So, this man is also related to Whitebeard. Hiss. Thinking of this, Mr. One couldn't help gasping for blazing hell's breath, and a burst of horror in his heart. Buggy walked to the edge of the 4th floor, shook his head and said, "This 5th floor is freezing hell, Ace cannot be held there. If my guess is correct, he should be imprisoned in the deepest part of Imperton, which is the 6th, eternal hell." "The 6th floor?" Luffy and the others exclaimed in astonishment. Buggy nodded slowly, then frowned and said, "Also, I have a bad feeling that even if we go down to the 6th floor, we may not be able to see Ace." Hearing Buggy's words, Luffy, Bon Clay and Mr. One all had question marks on their faces. "Didn't you just say that Ace was imprisoned on the 6th floor? Why do you say you can't see it?" Mr. 3 on the side pushed his glasses, immediately understood what Buggy meant, and said, "Master Buggy, do you mean that Ace may have been transferred in advance? What is the basis?" Buggy glanced at Mr. 3 appreciatively, then calmly said, "Didn't you find out? We have escaped from the 1st floor to the present, except for the initial hundreds of beasts who have symbolically blocked it. As well as the dozen or so jailers and prison chiefs on the 3rd floor, basically no one came to stop us. Even if Magellan has something to do, what about Hannibal, the deputy director of the prison? What about those Zone Fruit Awakeners who are known as the strongest jailers, Mino Taurus, Mino Koala, Mino Rhinoceros, Mino Madara Horse and Mino Chihuahua? None of them appeared in front of our eyes. There's even a legendary warden on par with Magellan, Shiryu of the Rain, which we haven't seen either. You say, why?" Hiss. After hearing what Buggy said, except for Luffy, the other 3 gasped, their faces were full of horror. "Conspiracy. There is definitely a big conspiracy." Mr. 3 said in a deep voice, "Master Buggy, it may really be as you guessed. Ace was transferred away in advance, and the 6th floor has been set up by Magellan to wait for us." Bentham and Bonus also nodded solemnly after listening. Luffy, who only has one side, looked at this and that for a while, his mind was full of question marks. But in the next second, he suddenly widened his eyes, opened his mouth wide and looked at Buggy and exclaimed, "Nani? Uncle Buggy, you said that Ace may have been transferred early. I couldn't save Ace if I didn't come, and I couldn't save Ace if I came, so why didn't I come in vain? What to do, Uncle Buggy, what shall we do now?" Luffy spun around Buggy, shaking his head. After turning around for a while, Luffy grabbed Mr. 3 and said, "3. Aren't you very resourceful? Come up with a solution, Ace can't be taken away." The corner of Mr. 3's mouth twitched, and he shook his head helplessly. "Straw Hat Boy, I have no choice but to see how Lord Buggy does it." Swish. Everyone else turned to look at Buggy, as did Luffy. But Buggy was looking around at the terrain at this time, as if he didn't hear their words at all. After seeing that the location was almost the same, Buggy nodded and said, "Just here." Hearing Buggy's inexplicable words, Luffy and the others looked at him puzzled. Comprehensive decomposition. But in the next second, they heard a shout from Buggy's mouth, and then he saw a bright white circle of light on Buggy's right hand. Boom. Immediately afterwards, Buggy's right hand became a palm, pressing directly on the ground with a huge white light circle. Chi chi chi. Boom. Before Luffy and the others could react, the floor tiles under their feet within a diameter of 50 meters turned into countless small cubes with a diameter of about 5 centimeters and shattered. Ah! Immediately there was a sense of weightlessness, and Luffy and the others screamed and fell straight down. Bang bang bang. In just a dozen seconds, they entered freezing hell from blazing hell, and all they saw was a vast expanse of white ice field. Marineford, Marine Headquarters, inside the Marshal's office. Asshole Garp. You still eat senbei. Did you know that your precious grandson has run into Impel Down and is now teaming up with Buggy the Clown, and a team from Baroque Studios are ready to rescue Ace? You dare to leave this to eat and eat? Bring it you. Sengoku grabbed Garp by the collar and yelled, spitting all over his face. Not only did he not repent when he saw this old guy, he also laughed proudly while picking his booger, so angry that Sengoku snatched the senbei from Garp's hand and poured it all into his mouth. Ah! My senbei! Garp put his hands on his forehead, with a heartbroken look on his face. You still eat senbei? Sengoku slammed the table angrily, glared at Garp and said. Did you know, that Buggy the clown, he has the Conqueror's haki? Garp, who was still grinning happily, and Crane, who was watching their performance with one hand resting on his chin, suddenly became serious and turned to look at Sengoku. Hey! Sengoku, do you know what you're talking about? Garp looked at Sengoku with a serious expression and said. You said that smirking clown Buggy had Conqueror's haki? Are you sure you're right? Crane's eyes also narrowed slightly to stare at Sengoku. I made a mistake, Sengoku yelled again. Being able to stun all the ferocious beasts and impel down the second floor of Wild Beast Hell in an instant, besides Conqueror's haki, what else can he do with Buggy the clown? With his nondescript chop fruit ability? This guy is really deep enough to hide. What is the purpose of his 10 or 20 years of hiding? Why is it suddenly not hidden again? Sure enough, none of the guys who got off Roger's boat was simple. Damn it. Garp was silent when he heard Sengoku's words. And just at this moment, the crane on the side suddenly said. Being able to instantly kill all beasts in starvation hell, including the Sphinx, is not something that ordinary Conqueror's haki can do. Having said that, he paused and said, Sengoku, do you think there is a possibility that Buggy already knew Ace's identity? So after learning that the captain's son was arrested, he pretended to be arrested and sneaked into Impel Down. In order to take advantage of the chaos and save Ace from Impel Down? Hiss. Hearing Crane's analysis, Sengoku couldn't help but gulp down the uneaten senbei residue, his face was full of shock. I'm afraid this possibility is really great. With the level of tolerance of the clown Buggy, plus his Conqueror's haki. If one is not careful, it is really possible for him to steal the ace from Impel Down. Fortunately, you reminded me before, let me transfer the ace in advance. Hiss. This man hides too deeply. What a deep city, what a scary guy. It really almost let him succeed. Garp on the side heard the words, a touch of disappointment flashed imperceptibly in his eyes, and then he laughed again. Sure enough, the guy who can become an intern on Roger's ship like the red-haired guy, how could he be inferior in strength? Miscalculation, I didn't expect the old man to be wrong sometimes. Sengoku glared in Garp's side. Garp, not only you are an asshole, but your entire family is also an asshole. Ha ha ha, facing Sengoku, Garp can only scratch his head and laugh. The crane on the side gave the two veterans a look, then shook his head and said. However, I think Buggy a little bit differently, for the sake of Roger's child, he did not hesitate to expose his hidden strength for many years. If it wasn't for this matter, we might really be kept in the dark by him. As the saying goes, the deeper you hide, the greater your ambition. Being able to give up his years of hiding for the captain's son, I have to say that this kid is also a man of affection and righteousness. It's a pity that they are destined to fail. Impel Down is where that man guards. Hearing Suru's words, neither Sengoku nor Garp refuted, obviously they agreed with what Suru said. Hey, leave everything to Magellan, with him, no one can escape Impel Down. Impel Down, in the 5th floor freezing hell. Luffy, who had just fallen from the 4th floor into the 5th floor of the Frost Forest, just got up from the snowdrifts when they saw dozens of wolves surrounding them and howling. Several people also saw this scene after pulling their heads out of the snowdrift, and immediately put on a fighting posture. But what happened next shocked them again. I saw Buggy took a step forward, and calmly uttered a word in the face of the wolves who were grinning at them and showing their teeth and claws. Roll. Faced with this scene, those wolves who wanted to be extremely ferocious before suddenly, whimpered in a low voice, and ran away with their tails between their legs in horror. Seeing this, Luffy and the others were surprised again. Mr. 1, on the other hand, looked at Buggy's back with eyes full of admiration. He didn't expect that a single word from this man could drive back the wolves. It's so scary. Hiss. It's so cold. Luffy looked at Buggy tremblingly and said. Uncle Buggy, where is this? This is the 5th floor, freezing hell. While Buggy was speaking, he immediately let out his sense of knowledge and swept it away, and quickly locked on to the destination. While running towards the depths of the forest, he opened his mouth and said. Come on. Now come with me to meet this man on the legendary 5.5th floor. The legendary 5 floors? Is there really such a place? Luffy and their faces were full of disbelief. But along the way, Buggy basically never let them down, so they all subconsciously chose to follow behind him. Soon they came to the edge of a chasm deep in the forest, and then Buggy jumped first. This rift is only 3 or 4 meters deep, just about the width of a person. After seeing Buggy jumping down, Luffy and the others didn't hesitate and jumped into it directly. After descending into the rift valley, they suddenly felt that the temperature had become warmer. After walking a few tens of meters, they directly entered a cramped cave tunnel. After walking forward for a few minutes, it suddenly became clear and the lights were bright. Luffy and the others who had just come out from behind Buggy saw a huge plaque erected at the entrance, which said, "Shemale Paradise." But before they could cry out in surprise, a group of transvestites in strange costumes were staring at Buggy and the others without saying a word, tens of meters away. The atmosphere was tense for a while, until a thick and slightly hoarse male voice suddenly came from behind the crowd. "Buggy the Clown, the Straw Hat Kid, and the Baroque Studios, I have seen your actions and admire your ideas. But I can't help you if you want a Fire Fist Ace." Moreover, it was too late. Fire Fist Ace was transferred away by Magellan and Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral more than 10 minutes ago. "Yes, everything is as you imagined. Alright, I've finished my words, you can go. This is a paradise for shemale, outsiders are not welcome." Hearing this, the corner of Buggy's mouth curled up, and he spoke calmly. "If so, why don't we go?" As soon as this remark came out, the atmosphere in this 5.5 floor space suddenly became tense. Whoosh whoosh. Just as Buggy finished speaking, a pink figure suddenly circled in the air and landed on the ground a few meters in front of Buggy with his back facing them. "Buggy boy, you are really hockey. People are scared by you." While speaking, the woman in front of her wearing a lace cloak and a tight pink leather jacket first made a delicate voice, and then her voice stopped, and her slim body became thick and huge in the blink of an eye. Immediately afterwards, he turned a huge head at Buggy and made a grimace and laughed loudly. "I'm not scared by you. Eha, it turns out I wasn't scared." Standing behind him was a group of grotesque monsters who responded in unison in shock. Seeing this scene, the corner of Buggy's mouth twitched slightly. "When I watched anime in my previous life, I still thought it was quite funny, but now it's quite embarrassing to do something like this in front of my eyes." But before he spoke here, Luffy who was standing beside him pointed at Ivankov and said, "Who is this strange-looking guy? Strange shape." Ivankov and those monsters on the opposite side were startled, and they all glared at Luffy. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this scene, Buggy couldn't help laughing out loud, patted Luffy on the head and said, "He is the person we need to find here this time. He is also your father's subordinate, the king of the Kamabaka Kingdom, a cadre of the Revolutionary Army, Emporio Ivankov." Nani. Hearing Buggy's words, not only Ivankov and others on the opposite side exclaimed in shock, but even Luffy, Mr. 3 and Mr. 1 beside them opened their mouths wide in shock. On the other side, Bon Clay was dumbfounded when Ivankov appeared. Different from Buggy's relaxed atmosphere, Ivankov's expression immediately became cold after the shock, and he no longer had the previous funny expression. "Buggy the Clown, right? Although I admire your actions, since you know my identity, I can't let you go so easily." Ivankov automatically ignored some words in Buggy's middle, and then shot Buggy directly by surprise. Death wink. Following Ivankov's high-speed blink, a blast of wind swept towards Buggy at a strange speed. Especially at such a short distance, it is impossible for ordinary people to guard against it. Just Buggy now, and not just anyone. Before Ivankov was ready to make a shot, he had already sensed the opponent's intention. Therefore, when facing the blasting blast that swept across in an instant, Buggy just raised one hand and gently grabbed at the blasting blast. Chila. In the next instant, the blast wind that swept in front of Buggy, blowing both Luffy and Mr. 2 backward several meters, seemed to be crushed by something instantly, and directly turned into an explosion under Buggy's white palm. A breeze scattered. If the ground in front of him hadn't been plowed into a ditch, it would have been as if nothing had happened just now. What? Can this also be avoided? No, I didn't avoid it. Is it directly destroyed? Is this your devil fruit ability? Seeing this scene, Ivankov was also shocked. Luffy and Mr. 2, who were just blown away, also reacted at this time, and they did not expect that the person on the opposite side was so decisive in attacking. Whoosh whoosh. However, Ivankov didn't succeed in the blow, but he didn't mean to give up. Instead, his figure turned into a spin, and he came to Buggy in the blink of an eye. 2 pairs of hands with needles grew on Buggy and stabbed them down, while shouting loudly. New Shemale Boxing 44, The Secret of Beauty. Swish swish swish. In the next moment, Ivankov's fist shadow covered the sky towards Buggy. Ohs. Master Ivan has used the new Shemale boxing technique. Is this person going to become our sister? HMPH. Then we have to wait for Lord Ivan to teach him a lesson before making him our sister. Ah, Lord Ivan is really too strong. While a group of monsters in the back shouted excitedly for Ivankov, Buggy still looked calm. First, he used observation hockey to easily dodge the dozen or so attacks of Ivankov, and then he raised his right hand and made a punching motion. Immediately afterwards, a white halo appeared on Buggy's right fist, which was very similar to the appearance when Whitebeard used shock fruit. In the next second, his white fist was instantly covered with a layer of armament hockey. Armed smash. Immediately, after Buggy avoided Ivankov's punch with his head tilted, he also punched Ivankov through the air. Boom. Whoosh, but it was obviously a punch from the air, and there was still a distance of 1 or 2 meters, but Ivankov still seemed to be hit by the fist. His whole body was sunken into a U-shape like a cannonball and flew backwards, directly hitting dozens of meters on the outer stone wall. Boom. Ha ha ha. Immediately, under the shocked eyes of everyone, Ivankov's tall body was directly embedded in the wall, causing a burst of gravel to fall. Hiss. After seeing this scene, everyone present couldn't help but gasp. Especially those transvestites, their eyes widened and their faces were full of shock. They couldn't believe that their Lord Ivan was thrown away in a confrontation. Mr. 2 on one side didn't expect that the she-beast king he admired was still no match for Mr. Buggy. Click. Boom. Crashing. After everyone was stunned for a few seconds, Ivankov, who was embedded in the wall, shook and directly shattered the stone wall. After a loud roar, he jumped down from above. It's just that the blood oozing from the corner of his mouth also proved that he was indeed injured just now. Wow. Seeing the blood overflowing from the corner of Ivankov's mouth, those transgressors couldn't help but burst into an uproar again. Master Ivan was injured. Is this guy so strong? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. It's just a trick. Who the hell is this guy? Pooh. So strong. Ivankov wiped away the bloody soil and rocks in his mouth, and looked at Buggy with serious eyes. As his little brother said, this was just a confrontation, and he was injured. Was he completely suppressed? The opponent's attack strength just now was not strong. So, is it still devil fruit? Ivankov's heart sank, and just as he was about to fire, the man opposite spoke again. Ivankov, can you listen to me now, or are you going to attack the son of the dragon? Ivankov, who was eager to try, just wanted to speak hard, when he heard the following words from Buggy, which completely stunned him. Then, he saw Buggy pointing to Luffy again and said, "What's your expression?" As I just said, this guy is the son of a dragon. His name is Monkey D. Luffy, his father is Monkey D. Dragon, and his grandfather is Monkey D. Garp. How? As an intelligence officer of the Revolutionary Army, don't you even know this news? After Buggy finished speaking, the scene suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Nani? A few seconds later, Ivankov exclaimed, his eyeballs and tongue protruding out of fright, and then he flew backwards and embedded himself into the wall again. Seeing this scene, Buggy couldn't laugh or cry. Just when he was about to say something more, a pleasant reminder sounded in his ears. Ding dong. Congratulations on completing the first stage of the plot change. The task reward is being settled. The mission rewards have been settled. Congratulations on obtaining Chop Chop Fruit, Awakened Derivative Ability, Decomposition Control. Click to expand. After seeing the blue light curtain jumping out in front of him, a look of joy flashed across Buggy's face, and then he restrained himself. With a thought in his mind, the details of the Decomposition Control skill appeared in his mind. Decomposition Control. After decomposing an item that has been decomposed by one's own ability, one can restore it again, and can manipulate the item at will. Temporary dead objects. This skill. A flash of thought flashed in Buggy's heart. This skill seems to have little effect, but after careful thought, you will find that it is also an extremely useful ability. To a certain extent, it can even play the role of changing the terrain of the battlefield at any time. If he cooperates with comprehensive decomposition, to use the large-scale splitting ability, after changing the terrain, he can change part of the terrain into what he wants. If it is above the ground, it is equivalent to a certain degree of earth magic. If it is in the sea, doesn't that mean that he can also control the seawater? Is it equivalent to water magic? You must know that although the power of demon fruit is restrained by seawater, the ability of devil fruit can be applied to seawater. For example, Aokiji's frozen fruit can freeze the sea, Akainu's lava fruit can make the sea boil, and so on. Then his Chop Chop fruit can naturally split the sea. At that time, with the skill, Decomposition Control, wouldn't it mean that he can restore the sea after splitting it, or control the seawater and walk against it? Yushui attack. I am super. Water style. It has to be said that after this idea came out, various plans to cooperate with the battle appeared in Buggy's mind. But now is not the time to implement it. But Buggy is not in a hurry, and soon he will have time to test his abilities. Now it is better to discuss the follow-up matters with Ivankov. After an hour, Buggy's group and Ivankov's group sat in the lobby on the 5.5th floor, looking at several monitoring rooms on the other side of the wall. Only then did Buggy understand how Ivankov and the others knew what their group was doing. Turns out they already had phone bugs all over Impel Down too. So Straw Hat Boy, are you really the son of a dragon? Ivankov kept looking at Luffy, who was frantically stuffing food into his mouth. Hey, little Ivan, you've asked me so many times. Luffy rolled his eyes and said, say, when will you help me save Ace? Hey. Didn't I say it many times? Fire Fist Ace was escorted out of Impel Down more than an hour ago. Ivankov rubbed his forehead and said, what we are thinking about now is how to escape from this Impel Down. That guy Magellan has already laid a net on the first and second floors of Impel Down, just waiting for us to go out and give away the head. It would be very troublesome to go out now. That man is the scariest man in the entire prison, but anyone who touches him is basically dead. Is it that scary? Luffy's eyes widened. It will only be more terrifying. Ivan looked serious. Everyone looked at the monitoring screen, the increasing number of jailers, and the few awakened Zone Devil Fruit guarding the entrance of the Wild Beast Hell on the second floor. They couldn't help feeling a little worried. There are more and more people here, can they really escape successfully? Not to mention there is Magellan equivalent to quasi-admiral level. But at this moment, Buggy's calm voice sounded slowly. Who said I was in a hurry to get out? There is still a long time before the war between Whitebeard and Marine. If they go out so early, they can only be surrounded by Marine. The best time to go to Marineford is naturally to wait until the battle heats up. After hearing Buggy's words, everyone nodded in agreement. That's right. Then we'll just stay here and wait for the right time while deploying the plan in detail. Ivankov also nodded. However, just as he finished speaking here, Buggy shook his head slowly and said, no, I don't mean to waste time here, and there is no need for a plan. If Magellan can't be stopped by then, it will all be empty talk. Therefore, the best plan is, when Magellan is handed over to me, you take people out to find a warship, then the escape will be successful. Wow. As soon as Buggy's words came out, there was another uproar among the people present. Hey, Mr. Buggy, although I know you are very powerful, but if you want to stop Magellan alone, it is impossible, right? Yes. That man is second only to Marine Admiral. No, even to a certain extent, that guy Magellan's abilities are even more terrifying than Marine Admiral. As long as you get infected with his poison, you're dead. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Who says no? Magellan is a man who can suppress Impel Down. All the people around immediately started talking about it. All of them were not optimistic about the idea of Buggy. Ivankov looked at Buggy with a frown. Buggy boy, I know you are strong, but do you really know Magellan's strength? His strength can almost be said to be that of the small group of people standing at the apex of this world. If not, he would not be able to suppress those vicious criminals in Impel Down. Top of the world, do you understand the weight of these words? Ah. Buggy couldn't help chuckling, leaned back on the high-back chair, crossed his hands casually on his knees, glanced at the crowd, looked at Ivankov for 2 seconds, and then calmly said, nobody starts out on top of the world. Whether it's you, or me, or Magellan, even God. But with the outbreak of Summit War, the world's strongest throne will also enter a window period. If even Magellan can't cross it, it only proves that my size is nothing more than that. The wave of the new era is coming, and I will stand in the sky. When everyone heard the words, they were all shocked and speechless. After hearing Buggy's words, Mr. 3, Mr. 2, Mr. 1, and even Luffy, who had been eating heartlessly, all looked at Buggy in shock. Luffy looked dazed, with an unidentified feeling. The other three were more excited. It is undoubtedly lucky for them to be able to follow such a bold and powerful captain. Even Ivankov, who is used to seeing big scenes, couldn't help but set off a storm in his heart. Clown Buggy. Information about this man appeared in his mind at once. It was really hard for him to imagine that this man was nothing more than Bailey's young man with a bounty of 15 million, for more than 10 years, but at this moment he showed a boldness that he had never seen in a dragon. As expected of a man with Conqueror's hockey. It's just, Buggy the Clown, a man like you has hidden his strength and ambition for the past 10 or 20 years but revealed his strength and ambition during this period. Just because you want to jailbreak. The red-haired former trainee member of the One Piece ship is now one of the famous 4 emperors in New World. If you want to expose your ambition, you should have exposed your ambition long ago. Is it still because of the Fire Fist Ace, son of the One Piece? Is it because he couldn't bear to see his captain's son die in such a muddle? As for standing on top of the world, you may already be by now. If you want fame and fortune, you don't need to be saying things like this right now. It's all about hiding your feelings about rescuing Roger's son. What a man who values love and righteousness. Ah, the damned charm that has nowhere to rest. Thinking of this, Ivankov looked at Buggy with admiration, and immediately he stood up energetically and raised his hands and shouted. Whether it's for Dorag's son or Firefist Ace. That being the case, let me, Emporio Ivankov, help you. Grateful. Although Buggy didn't understand why Ivankov's attitude changed suddenly, he still thanked him with a slight bow. Since Ivankov agreed to join the team, he is not welcome. Immediately, he stood up and glanced at the surveillance screen, then looked at Ivankov and said. Ivan, since you've been here for so long, you must know about the 6th floor of Impel Down, Eternal Hell? Ivankov heard the words and nodded. This is natural. Firefist Ace was locked on the 6th floor before. Well, do you know how to get to the 6th floor? Buggy cut to the chase. Since Magellan has deployed so many people on the 1st and 2nd floors, if possible, I also want to add some strength to our team. Hearing this, Ivankov was taken aback for a moment, then his face changed drastically and he said. You want to free the prisoners of Eternal Hell? Why not? Buggy looked at Ivankov and grinned. Ivankov shuddered and said, No, absolutely not. Those monsters inside are too dangerous. If they are really released, they will cause cholera. Buggy looked at Ivankov calmly. Then what does that have to do with me? Ivan, ask yourself, does the world still need cholera? You, the Revolutionary Army, should know this best. As long as the celestial dragons exist, there will be no cholera or not in the world, because they are the source of cholera. Ivankov fell silent. Seeing this, Buggy chuckled and said. Don't worry, I'm not someone who will release him. Besides, even without me, they would be released soon. I was just one step ahead. Ivankov looked up at Buggy with a look of astonishment on his face. What do you mean by that? Buggy waved his hand, and answered the wrong question. So, Ivan, lead the way. I also want to go to the 6th floor to see if there are any acquaintances I used to know. Maybe, we can also get some unexpected power support on the jailbreak. It would be easier to break through the blockade that way. Acquaintance. Ivankov nodded while thinking about the meaning of Buggy's words. Suddenly his body trembled. He looked up at Buggy and said. Acquaintance. Could it be that you? Hush. Buggy raised a finger, chuckled and shook his head. You have to go to find out. Good. Ivankov nodded heavily, then turned his head to look at the younger brothers who listened to him talking with Buggy with relish and shouted. Lightning, we are about to leave. After Ivankov yelled, a man with half yellow and half white, wearing round sunglasses, and holding a goblet full of red wine slowly walked out of the crowd, bowed to Ivan and said. Master Ivan has already been prepared. After hearing what Lightning said, Ivan raised his hand and shouted excitedly. Cutes, we're leaving. Are you ready? Ready, Your Majesty the Queen. Iha. Then go to Eternal Hell. A few kilometers away from here, there is an entrance to the 6th floor of Eternal Hell. Ivan waved his hands excitedly, and while speaking, he was ready to set off with his younger brothers. Oh. Just when Ivankov's younger brothers were excited, Buggy's voice suddenly sounded. I don't think it's necessary to be so troublesome. If my guess is correct, the 6th floor of Eternal Hell is right under our feet? Hearing Buggy's words, Ivankov and the others nodded subconsciously, then he froze for a moment and said. Buggy boy. What do you mean by that? After hearing Buggy's words, the faces of Luffy and the others changed, as if they had thought of something, but except for the excited look on Luffy's face, the expressions of the others were a little ugly. Buggy answered the wrong question. Do you still want this base? Ivankov shook his head and said, we have all left, and naturally there is no use here. Well. Buggy showed a weird smile and said. Then let's go directly to Eternal Hell from here, everyone is ready. Having said that, he paused and said in a deep voice. Comprehensive decomposition. The next moment, his hands glowed with a dazzling white light, and he pressed them directly on the ground under the astonished eyes of everyone. Seeing this scene, everyone else had question marks on their faces, while Mr. 3 turned pale and immediately shouted. Not good. Everyone, get ready. This place is about to collapse. Crashing. Although Mr. 3 had already reminded them in time, before they could react, the ground under their feet surged like a wave for a moment, and then directly collapsed into countless small square bricks and stones scattered away. In the next second, a huge circular pothole with a diameter of hundreds of meters suddenly appeared on the ground of the 5.5 floors. The people standing on it felt empty under their feet, and their bodies began to fall down with a feeling of weightlessness. At this time, Ivankov and the others finally realized what was going to happen. After all, they had seen the clown Buggy use it once before. Now it's just that the range is dozens of times larger than when they used it before. However, Ivankov was startled and screamed, "No, no, no, Buggy boy, although we are on the 5.5th floor, we are still too high from the 6th floor, eternal hell. If you fall like this, you will fall to your death. It's too late." Lord Ivan Lightning, who had always maintained elegance, fell down with a pale face at this time, and opened his mouth in despair. But even so, he still held the glass of red wine tightly in his hand, as if it was his life-saving straw. He, it's too late, Ivan Chan. Compared to the desperation of these transgressors, Luffy approached Ivan with a heartless face, dragging his huge head down with him. Straw Hat Boy, you are still gloating at this time. Ivankov felt hopeless. At this moment, he couldn't help wondering if he chose to follow these guys to escape from prison because he had something wrong with his brain. Just as everyone screamed and despaired, and then fell down with their hands clasped together, Buggy showed a smirk. If he hadn't acquired the skill, split control, he would have chosen a safe way, following Ivankov and the others to walk a little longer to the 6th floor. But now that he also has this skill, he no longer needs to worry about such things. Just when everyone was desperate, Buggy laughed lightly, raised his right hand and snapped his fingers. Then something that shocked everyone happened. I saw that the broken stones that had been broken down by Buggy's ability before into countless small falling stones were instantly condensed under the feet of everyone, but in the blink of an eye, they were restored into a huge round stone slab with a diameter of hundreds of meters. Bang bang bang. At this time, the people who were still falling just felt a slight shock on the soles of their feet, as if they had landed after taking off lightly, stepping on this huge recondensed round stone slab. Oh. Seeing this miraculous scene, coupled with the excitement of the aftermath of the disaster, immediately made these people roar with excitement. Eehaw. Ivankov also casually grabbed Luffy hanging from his head and threw it away with both hands, then crossed his fat waist and laughed. I was almost scared to death by you, Buggy boy. I didn't expect this chop fruit to be used like this, it's too strong. Buggy spread his hands. You know, since I can split and unite my own body, how difficult is it to split and unite the objects I split? It's just some simple use of devil fruit, a trick. Not worth mentioning. Hearing Buggy's calm and aggressive words, Ivankov, who was laughing just now, froze. You call this a trick? However, before Ivankov could speak, several vigorous laughter suddenly came from the eternal hell nearly 100 meters below. Ha, our eternal hell is really lively recently. Who says it's not? They come and go. It seems that some people have forced their way into the 6th floor now. Interesting. Ha. It seems that since that idiot Roger died, the times outside seem to be more exciting. Burndy world, you are courting death. Ha. Jabba, if I'm still afraid of you outside, as for now, can you still hold an axe? Ha. Mess up. It's best to destroy the world. Ha. What, you bastard? Kyla. In a certain prison cell in eternal hell, Burndy world, who was still laughing wildly before, suddenly felt a terrifying conqueror's haki, coming directly towards him with streaks of black and red lightning. Even though he was also a great pirate in the world of cholera before, facing such a powerful conqueror's haki, he couldn't help being crushed to the ground with one knee. If he was at his peak, he would naturally not be afraid of such momentum, but now his hands, feet and neck are locked by sea stone, so he has no strength to resist at all. In addition, he doesn't have conqueror's haki, so he can only be crushed unilaterally. Swish. At the same time that this conqueror's haki was bursting out in full force, in each of the secret cells of eternal hell, one after another looked up at the sky above eternal hell almost at the same time, and at the same time locked on the huge masonry ground that was falling rapidly. Damn it. Conqueror's haki again. Are all the conqueror's haki of this day and age so cheap? Ha. Burndy world, aren't you crazy? You were crushed by a junior? If I were you, I would have killed myself by biting my tongue. Such abilities, plus conqueror's haki, boy, what are you here for? Conqueror's haki. Who doesn't have it? Almost at the same time when Buggy broke out conqueror's haki, while the world's biggest criminals were chatting loudly and laughing, someone unexpectedly broke out conqueror's haki. For a time, there were at least several conqueror's haki of varying strengths raging in this eternal hell. Black and red lightning raged and collided above the 6th floor eternal hell, causing waves of air to surge. Even because of the collision of these terrifying conqueror's haki, a small fine crack appeared on the masonry ground. Such a terrifying coercion made those vicious criminals without conqueror's haki look extremely ugly. There is no way. This kind of feeling of being oppressed by the momentum while only watching others pretend to be aggressive is really not very comfortable. Especially when these people are their own inmates. As for those phone bugs placed in eternal hell, they were knocked out by the first wave of Buggy's conquerors. Feeling the crazy and tyrannical situation of eternal hell, Buggy glanced at the pale and crumbling subordinates and transgressors. He couldn't help chuckling and said, "Luffy, Ivan, you guys go down with me for a walk. As for the others, just stay here and don't move. This situation is indeed a bit too difficult for you," etc. And at this moment, a teeth-gritting voice sounded. "Master Buggy, please take me with you. If I can't even bear this bit of oppression, how can I be king? Me, I don't want to lose any more foolishly." Buggy paused, turned his head to look at Mr. One, met his deadly eyes, and smiled. "You are very good, Impleton." In the surveillance room, a jailer was taken aback when he noticed that the screens in several monitoring rooms suddenly lost their images, and his face turned pale when he saw the labels of the screens in those monitoring rooms. Immediately, the jailer rushed out of the monitoring room, looked at Magellan who was standing outside arranging the deployment, and shouted, "Director, it's not good, Director." "Huh?" Magellan turned to look at the jailer indifferently. After being stared at by Magellan, the jailer suddenly felt his scalp tingle, but after swallowing a few mouthfuls of saliva, he said, "Prisoner, the 6th floor." All the monitoring screens of eternal hell suddenly disappeared. Magellan frowned and said, "You mean disappearing all at once, not one by one?" "Yes, I just turned around, and the screen disappeared." The jailer nodded. "It should be those restless guys messing with conquerors again." Magellan waved his hand. "Don't worry about him. 6th floor, above the eternal hell." Click. Whoosh! As Buggy split the 100-meter-high slab into a slab, he, Mr. One, Luffy, and Ivankov stood on this small slab and began to fall rapidly downward. "Woohoo!" Compared to Ivankov, who had a serious face, Luffy exclaimed with a heartless smile, apparently very excited to be able to take this kind of elevator. But Mr. One is tensely enduring the oppressive and brutal atmosphere of eternal hell at this moment. In just a dozen seconds, Buggy controlled the slate and stopped in front of Burndy World's cell door, and then looked down at Burndy Val, who was suppressed by him with Conqueror's Haki and knelt on one knee. The latter also felt something, looked up at Buggy outside the cell with difficulty, and squeezed out a few words from his teeth. "You bastard, who the hell? Why are you targeting Lousy? Insulting Captain Roger, damn it." Buggy looked at Burndy World calmly. The reason why he said that was naturally intentional, for his next plan. After the previous confrontation after the outbreak of Conqueror's Haki, many people in this eternal hell have used observation Haki to watch Buggy's every move. He wanted to start pulling people, but he didn't expect Burndy Wild to jump out first. As a crew member of One Piece, how could he miss such a good opportunity to win people's hearts? Just right, Burndy World hit the muzzle. Everything was just as Buggy expected. After he said these words, there were at least 4 or 5 auras in the eternal hell that instantly locked onto him. Ha 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 ha. After hearing Buggy's words, Burndy World laughed wildly. "Didn't expect a guy like you to be one of Roger's dogs, huh? Wait, you call him Captain Roger?" Originally, he thought that Buggy was just Roger's little fanboy, but he suddenly realized something was wrong. After feeling the suppression of Conqueror's Haki on his body disappear, he stood up and stared at Buggy in shock and said, "Are you a crew member on Roger's ship?" After finishing speaking, Burndy World laughed wildly again. "Ha ha ha ha. What about Roger's crew? Stronger than a monster like Jabba, isn't it also imprisoned? You bastard broke into eternal hell. Should you say you were ignorant or stupid? Do you really think you can escape? Really thought you were a golden lion? Stupid guy. Aren't you going to kill me? Come on." Anyway, labor and management are locked up all over now, and they have no power to resist. Come on, let's vent your anger on your stupid captain who surrendered himself. Ha 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 ha. Seeing that Burndy World looked like a lunatic, Luffy, who was standing beside Buggy, couldn't help but frown. "You." Mr. One standing behind Buggy saw that this guy was so rampant, and was about to step forward to make a move, but was blocked by the hand that suddenly stopped in front of him. Then Buggy's chuckle echoed in the silent eternal hell at this moment, and then he stopped laughing, looking down at Burndy World's calm opening. "World Destroyer? Burndy World? Even if you don't provoke me, I will not kill you who is like a dead dog now. That's so cheap. Everyone should have a choice, even you who are about to die under my hands. I will give you a chance. Release all your shackles, fight or flee, the choice is yours." After hearing Buggy's words, everyone in eternal hell couldn't help but burst into an uproar. Wow. They obviously didn't expect that this man who broke into this eternal hell by unknown means would actually make such a choice. That guy is World Destroyer Burndy World. Are today's young people so ignorant? Laugh. Click. Wow. But before they had any more reactions, their sense of sight sensed that Buggy easily destroyed Seastone's cell. Then under the shocked eyes of everyone, they saw Buggy casually raised his fingers and shot 3 white lights. Click. 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 Clang clang clang. Immediately afterwards, they felt that the arm-thick Seastone shackles on Burndy World's hands, feet, and neck all broke and fell to the ground in an instant. Even Burndy World couldn't react for a while. He didn't expect the man in front of him with clown makeup to be so decisive. However, Burndy World is also a great pirate once. Having experienced countless fights, he has long been extremely tough mentally, and the power suppressed by the Seastone chains is rapidly recovering, which made him react quickly. The Seastone chains on him were really destroyed. After reacting, Burndy World looked at Buggy with a more rampant smile. How dare you remove the Seastone handcuffs of World Destroyer? I don't know if you were ignorant or stupid. Was Roger's crew all this naive? No wonder he himself is so naive. Stupid guy. In return for unlocking my Seastone, I'll leave you dead. Whoa, whoa, whoa. After seeing that Burndy World was really out of trouble, there was a burst of commotion and ridicule in Eternal Hell. World Destroyer out of trouble, this guy is dead. Ha ha ha, it's Roger's crew, how naive. Hey, Jabba, why don't you tell me? When did you have such a stupid guy on your ship? Ha 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 ha, I'm curious too. How dare you unlock the Seastone of Burndy World? Doesn't he know the horror of Momo fruit? Burndy World is a lunatic who dares to directly attack the world government. Unchaining him is really tantamount to courting death. Jabba, it seems that one of your juniors will die in vain this time. Hey. Third Captain Jabba, who is that guy? Why haven't I heard that there was such a person on our ship? When all the prisoners in the entire Eternal Hell were laughing at Buggy's overreach, Burndy World chose to sneak attack without hesitation. Momo, 50 times shotgun, Momo 50 times cannon. In the blink of an eye, Burndy World grabbed a few unremarkable gravels on the ground and threw them directly at Buggy and the others. The gravel, which was only half the size of a palm in diameter, shot towards Buggy like a cannonball, and on the way, the gravel was magnified dozens of times in an instant, turning into boulders with a diameter of 4 to 5 meters, hit Buggy. Buggy boy, watch out, Uncle Buggy, Captain Buggy. Ivankov, Luffy and others standing behind were also shocked. They didn't expect the opponent to strike so fast and ruthlessly, especially with armament hockey attached to those stones. If this is hit, it will definitely be seriously injured. Those who used observation hockey to watch the battle in other cells of Eternal Hell were also surprised by the ability used by Burndy World, and immediately looked like they were watching a good show. Apparently they didn't think Buggy would be able to dodge this sudden sneak attack. Whoa, whoa, whoa. After the sneak attack, Burndy World laughed wildly. Little devil, I will teach you the first lesson today, pirates are omnipotent. What? It's just that before Burndy World continued to be rampant, his laughter stopped abruptly, as if he was choked by something, and his eyes widened in shock. Buggy put his hands in his pockets and didn't move. And the boulders thrown by Burndy World at Buggy, which were as fast as cannonballs, suddenly slowed down like mud flowing into the sea after hitting a place 1 meter away from Buggy. Then it shattered with a bang, instantly turning into countless dust and floating in the air. This sudden and weird scene made those big pirates who were about to watch the show extremely astonished. They had been focusing on the battle between Buggy and Burndy World just now, but they didn't find anything just now, they just watched the boulder, which was more powerful than a cannonball, instantly turned into powder. Even if they were able to smash these boulders easily, they couldn't smash them so silently, and that clown Buggy didn't even move his hands. Devil fruit. At this moment, everyone reacted immediately. Just when everyone was shocked and wondering what the fruit ability was, Buggy still put his hands in his pockets, calmly looked at Burndy World and spit out a few words. World Destroyer? That's it. Originally, because of the failed sneak attack, Burndy World felt ashamed and flustered, but now he heard the 7 words, Buggy, which was like killing people, and it made him even more angry instantly. Burndy World roared angrily and rushed towards Buggy. Smelly brat. Don't be too crazy. Labor and management are Burndy World. Armed hardened body. Momo 70 times faster. Instant shaved fist. Die to grandpa. With the sound of Burndy World's roar, his body was instantly covered by a layer of jet black armed color, and then his figure disappeared directly on the spot with a shua. Seeing this scene, Buggy couldn't help but raised his eyebrows and said calmly. Intermediate armament hockey? Not bad. Swish. And just as Buggy finished speaking, a huge fist with a jet black armament hockey appeared 10 centimeters in front of him. Ha ha. Even the blowing wind blows Buggy's blue ponytail back and forth. However, facing the punch that was about to hit him, Buggy didn't panic at all, but with a thought, his body and head were separated. Whoosh! In the next second, World's body flew out from the split of his head and body and hit the huge prison iron door at the entrance of eternal hell. Boom. Crunch crunch. The huge black iron fence, which was as thick as a person, was actually sunken inward by the impact of World. Wow. Moonwalk. Bang bang bang. Just holding on for a breath, World smashed away the huge iron pillar blocked in front of him because of the sag, and jumped into the air after a few jumps, looking down at Buggy from a high position. You guy. Are you also an ability user? No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. But devil fruit is always just a support. In this world, hockey is the most important. Next, you won't have any more chances. Pay for your stupidity, brat. All the prisoners in eternal hell sighed when they saw this scene. Is this World guy going to give it his all? Hee hee. This guy's armed color is really pervert. Has he even learned the moonwalk and shave of Marine 6 styles? What a scary guy, world. Ability alone can't go far. Today's young people rely too much on fruit ability. Indeed, it's a pity for this guy. While others were discussing, World finally made another move. Momo 100 times faster, armed steel fist. Go to hell and regret it, young man. Boom. Following the sound of World's cessation of drinking, his speed was a bit faster than before. A wave of air exploded in midair and an afterimage of his figure was drawn in the air. Swish. In the blink of an eye, World rushed in front of Buggy, and the berserk armament hockey and power punch him. The violent and ferocious attack of World once again attracted the exclamation of those over 100 million pirates in eternal hell. On the contrary, Buggy's side is much calmer. Facing such a violent attack from World, under the gaze of everyone observation hockey, Buggy just raised his left hand in his pocket and raised his index finger to point at the rushing World. Immediately, under the astonishment of everyone, Buggy's left index finger lit up with a bright white light, and his index finger was covered with a layer of jet black armament hockey visible to the naked eye. Breaking evil and showing righteousness one day. The next second, Buggy put his right hand in his pocket, and the still extremely calm voice resounded. Immediately afterwards, Buggy's pitch black left index finger gleaming with white light collided with the huge pitch black fist thrown by World. Sheila. It was still the same sound as before, as if something had been smashed in an instant, sounded first. Puff. Immediately afterwards, a flash of white light directly penetrated World's right fist, protruded from his back, and bombarded the masonry wall of eternal hell unabated. Sheila. Immediately, under the horrified eyes of everyone, the masonry wall that was hit by a fist-thick white light turned into dust and dissipated in the air within a range of 100 meters in diameter, leaving only a huge circular shape. Potholes. Boom. Puff. And World, who stopped 1 meter away in front of Buggy while maintaining his punching posture, still had a look of shock and disbelief on his face. After he spat out a mouthful of blood, he fell directly to the ground. Hiss. Seeing that the fierce World had been slapped by the blue-haired clown in seconds, they couldn't help but gasped, and were speechless for a while. In any case, this scene was beyond their expectation. That world destroyer World was actually taken by someone in a second? Damn. Is it my eyes? Hey, tell me it's fake. Even if I've been imprisoned for so many years and my strength has deteriorated, it's impossible to regress like this. The momentum and hockey before are not a joke, hey. Damn it. Who the hell is this guy? Why didn't I remember that there was such a character on Roger's ship? Hey. Jabba, squeak if you're not dead, who the hell is this? If it wasn't for my knowledge and sense that World's vitality is rapidly draining, I wouldn't believe it. Didn't you think that such a ruthless person survived in our era? It seems that the outside world is very exciting. I really want to go out and see it. While these people were chattering, suddenly an old voice sounded. The internal organs of the world are all smashed. What a terrifying ability. What is this devil fruit? Why never heard of it? Could it be another ultimate fruit? Snort. Unfortunately, apart from that fruit, there is no attraction for me. Following the sound of this old voice, the other eternal hell prisoners who were still roaring and discussing fell silent instantly. It wasn't until several seconds later that another voice sounded a little older. Shahahaha, Barakari, you old guy has been in eternal hell for decades and still thinking about that devil fruit? Jabba, I thought you were old and dead. Who the hell is this guy? Why didn't I see him on Roger's ship? Copper Jabba was silent for 2 seconds. Don't say it's you. I can't remember who he is for a while. After all, it has been more than 10 years, and many people have changed too much. You had to talk to him to find out. Ha ha ha, you don't even know about it. Interesting, ha 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 ha. It's really a hometown that likes to gloat. On the other side, Buggy naturally didn't pay attention to the conversation of the two old guys locked in the corner, but walked up to the dying Burndy World and looked down at him condescendingly. World, finally, do you have anything else to say? Cough cough cough. After hearing Buggy's words, Burndy World was silent for a few seconds and coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood before he spoke. Ahem. If you meet my brother Bojack in the sea later, tell them for me, ahem. I don't really blame them. I see. Hearing this, Buggy nodded slowly, then he raised the palm of his right hand, and then a bright white light lit up on the palm of his right hand again. Seeing that Buggy no longer put his hands in his pockets, and used his right hand, Burndy World was stunned for a moment, and then showed a smile. Cough cough cough. Can you, before I die, tell me, which crew member of Roger did I die in? Buggy. While speaking, Buggy also pressed his right hand with white light on Burndy World's head, and at the same time he continued to speak. King Clown. Buggy. Burndy World's eyes brightened a bit, and the corners of his mouth squirmed slightly. The Clown King? I'm finally saying goodbye to this rotten world. Boom. Sheila. As Buggy's palm fell on Burndy World's head, the next moment, his body turned into a burst of white light dust and disappeared into the air under the shocked eyes of Luffy and the others. 30 years ago, the big pirate who offered a reward of 200 million berries, World Destroyer Burndy World, die. Impleton, 6th floor, Eternal Hell. After witnessing the whole process of the former World Destroyer dying in front of his eyes, the entire Eternal Hell became a bit quieter. It's just that the knowledge of these strong people locked on Buggy at this moment. They want to see what this man will do next. Even the noisy Luffy and Ivankov fell silent at this moment. After all, witnessing such a simple death of a big pirate with their own eyes had a great impact on them. Tap tap. But soon, they were attracted by the sound of Buggy's footsteps. Subconsciously looked in the direction of Buggy, and after a while, they saw Buggy stop in front of a cell. Then they heard Buggy say the words that made Eternal Hell fry in the calmest tone. See Shaw Jinbei, right? I want to ask, was the son of One Piece Roger, my eldest nephew, Portgas D. Ace, imprisoned here before? See Shaw Jinbei, right? I want to ask, was the son of One Piece Roger, my eldest nephew, Portgas D. Ace, imprisoned here before? Wow. After Buggy said this, the entire Eternal Hell was completely fried after a few seconds of silence. Damn. What did I hear just now? Could it be that I have been locked up for too long and have hallucinations? No, you heard that right. That guy named King Clown just said that the Whitebeard's second team captain Firefist Ace who was escorted away before is Roger's son. Whitebeard took Roger's son as his son. Hey. Wait, it's kind of messy, I'm going to slow down. I'm sorry. This news is too outrageous, right? By the way, is it okay to just say this kind of thing? I'm super. This guy named Buggy, isn't it Buggy, the midshipman who hangs out with Shanks? What nonsense is this guy talking about? Captain Jabba, please say something. Is Ace really the son of Captain Roger? But isn't Ace going to be executed soon? That means we watched Captain Roger helplessly his son was sent to be executed? Shut up. How the hell do I know Ace is Captain Roger's son? Wait, since this guy calls himself Buggy, he's coming to get us. Humph. He better stop talking nonsense, or... Just as Jabba finished speaking, the old voice from before sounded jokingly again. Otherwise, what about you? Jabba, you might not be able to beat your old bones. You have been imprisoned for more than 10 or 20 years. If you go out, your fate will not be much better than that of Burndy World. Ha 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 ha. Shut up. Barry Locke, you old bastard. Didn't you just attack and chop you with an axe and break your most knowledgeable golden body? You've been holding grudges till now. Jabba became angry from embarrassment. Hearing this, Barry Locke was also annoyed. Stop laughing, Jabba. It's not that I was besieged by your shameless Roger pirates, do you think you can hit me? A group of stinky pirates who don't talk about martial arts came to trick and attack me, an old man. Jabba. Buggy ignored the eternal hell that rose again because of his riot, and just looked up at Jinbei. Luffy, as if he didn't hear what Buggy said earlier, rushed to the prison door excitedly, grabbed the iron door and looked inside. Ace was imprisoned here before. Allah. Why do I suddenly have no strength? Plop. Then his whole body collapsed to the ground like noodles. Jinbei, who was locked in the prison, was dumbfounded when he saw this scene, and he opened his mouth after a long while. He's really an impulsive guy, just like Brother Ace said. Having said that, he turned his head to look at Buggy, and said solemnly. Is what you just said true, Mr. Buggy? While splitting a hand, Buggy lifted Luffy to his side, and at the same time raised his hand to smash the seastone iron gate and the chains on Jinbei's body with his power, and slowly spoke under his shocked gaze. If it's fake, why would I bring this brat to eternal hell? Hearing this, Jinbei also heaved a long sigh. I didn't expect Brother Ace to be the son of Roger, the Pirate King, but, Mr. Buggy, is it okay to just say such a thing? It doesn't matter, Marine will announce it soon anyway. Buggy narrowed his eyes slightly. Why do you think Marine chose to execute Ace today? Please advise. Jinbei scratched his head while getting up. Because Marine executed Captain Roger today 20 years ago. Now the execution of Ace can be regarded as forming a closed loop. At the same time, it can better shock the world and improve the reputation of Marine and world government. This is what they want. Buggy looked calm and spoke slowly. Buzz buzz. As soon as he said this, Jinbei didn't have any reaction, and 3 strands of Conqueror's haki, which were comparable to Buggy before, erupted in the depths of the prison. For a while, there was another commotion in the entire eternal hell. After all, it doesn't feel good to be hit by conquerors, especially this sudden 3-strike Conqueror's haki. This time, Jinbei, Luffy and Ivankov were also completely shocked. They never expected that there are 3 people in this eternal hell who have such a powerful Conqueror's haki. Okay, Mr. Jinbei, now is not the time to be shocked by this. Buggy looked at Jinbei indifferently, unaffected by the 3 strands of Conqueror's haki. The reason why I rescued you was because I wanted you to board my boat. Impossible. Mr. Buggy, although I'm grateful to you, I'm on Papa Whitebeard's crew. Jinbei immediately shook his head. What if Whitebeard dies? Buggy asked nonchalantly. Hearing this, Jinbei's reaction suddenly became fierce. What? Mr. Buggy, Dad is so strong, it's impossible. Jinbei. You don't think Whitebeard, who is in his 70s and covered in dark wounds, can take on naval headquarters? Buggy interrupted Jinbei directly and indifferently, looking straight into his eyes. Garp, Sengoku, let's not talk. 3 admirals, he can single out 1. But if you really want to fight, do you think he can fight 2 against 1, or 1 against 3? If it was Whitebeard's heyday, I have no doubts about it. But in the current situation, you don't really think that he is still the strongest in the world, do you? As long as Whitebeard is stopped, if the Whitebeard pirates do not have my backup, Ace will not be able to save them, and the Whitebeard pirates will also be wiped out. Don't be so naive, Jinbei. You don't want Mermaid Island to be buried with the Whitebeard pirates, do you? Buggy's words were like knives stabbing into Jinbei's heart one by one. After each sentence, Jinbei's complexion turned pale. Until the last sentence became the last straw that broke the camel's back. Plop. Jinbei took a few steps back with an ugly face, and then sat on the ground blankly. You have some time to think about it before I find other teammates. Buggy glanced at Jinbei, who was a bit dull-eyed, then turned and walked in another direction. In that direction, Buggy felt an aura he inherited from Buggy's memory. It was an aura like a beast in human form that made the former Buggy terrified. Everyone in Eternal Hell obviously heard what Buggy said to Jinbei before, which made them all fall into deep thought. It turns out that this man came to the 6th floor to find his teammates to go with him to naval headquarters to save Roger's son? After understanding the purpose of Buggy, many people's minds suddenly became alive. Although they have no feelings for Roger, and some even want to kill him, it doesn't prevent them from being obedient to others. As long as they escape from Impertin, don't they have the final say on everything? After waiting a little longer, maybe he can get a backstab. Pirates, isn't it normal to backstab teammates? But these people are not in a hurry now, they also want to see who this man is looking for. And when they saw Buggy walking towards the cell that made them all feel afraid, many people began to gloat again. They know that the guy locked in the cell is now at the peak of his strength. This guy has been working on his haki and body all these years. Even if it is locked by Seastone, it still exudes powerful haki all the time. This haki is like a terrifying beast, which makes people daunting. And at this moment, they heard Buggy, who walked in front of the man's cell, suddenly chuckled, raised his hand and smashed the Seastone cell door casually, and greeted the inside. Yo, isn't this Bullet? I haven't seen you for more than 10 years, so why? Everyone in Eternal Hell, good guy, you kid really dare. Boom. Following Buggy's words, a powerful aura burst out from the prison gate deep in front along with blue-black lightning, sweeping towards Buggy and the others. Without a doubt, the Conqueror's haki emanating from the Bullet. But now, even Mr. One and Luffy, who have experienced Buggy's Conqueror's baptism several times, and have survived the previous Conqueror's confrontations, they are now resistant to it. Just amazed by the mighty Conquerors. What a strong aura, uncle. Luffy also became serious and stared at Bullet in the prison ahead. It's not just strong. It's a monster, okay? Ivankov widened his eyes in shock, then seemed to think of something, opened his mouth and looked at Buggy. I said, Buggy boy, don't you mean? Yeah, I want to take Bullet with me. Buggy shrugged and laughed. After all, we were once companions on a boat, don't you think so, Bullet? While speaking, Buggy also unleashed his powerful Conqueror's Haki and pushed it back without showing any weakness. Zzz. Two powerful Conquerors collided in the air, and after a few seconds, Bullet's Conquerors with purple-black lightning was directly suppressed by Buggy's purple-black Conquerors and retreated, and then collapsed with a bang. What? In the dark cell, Bullet's shocked voice sounded. Are you really that Buggy guy? Your Conquerors can overwhelm me? Are you kidding me? After saying that, Bullet refused to admit defeat and once again burst out a powerful blue-black Conqueror's Haki, sweeping and oppressing towards Buggy. Sensing the confrontation between these two powerful Conquerors, everyone else in Eternal Hell looked this way in shock. It was hard for them to imagine that Bullet was suppressed before. Facing this powerful momentum again, Buggy didn't say much. He knows that if you don't suppress someone like Bullet, he won't be able to listen to you well. But this time Buggy was not in a hurry, but raised his hand and patted the shocked Luffy on the head and smiled. Nephew Luffy, study hard and comprehend well. There is such a force lurking within you too. Today, Uncle, I will let you realize it in advance. After finishing speaking, Buggy stared in Bullet's direction, opened his eyes and shouted. Bullet, have you been imprisoned for too long, abandoned for too long? The world is changing now. Aren't you pursuing the strongest in the world? Don't you admire Captain Roger the most? Now that his son is going to be executed on the day of the captain's death, can you still sit still? You give me almost hello. Boom. In the next moment, a purple-black Conqueror's Haki, which was more terrifying than Bullet, seemed to set off a purple lightning storm in this eternal hell. Woo. In just a breath, Bullet's Conquerors was suppressed and then completely defeated, and then all were poured into Bullet's prison. Bullet, who was still confident at first, was instantly bent down by the strong oppression, his eyes widened, and he growled in disbelief. What? How is that possible? Buggy, you bastard. Bullet, you've slept too long. Buggy kept drinking, and the white light on his palm lit up, throwing a beam of light at the gate of Seastone's prison. Are you going to rot completely, or go out with me and watch Marine's top fighters fight Whitebeard and the others? That is the top battlefield in the world today. Don't you, the world's worst criminal, not be tempted? Ha 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 ha, Buggy. Bullet gritted his teeth and let out a low growl, then laughed. Ha 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 ha, that being the case, I will accompany you for a walk. Although it is foolish for Captain Roger to turn himself in, he is the man who started an era. As his former crew member, it is impossible for me to allow his son to be executed by Marine. Unleash me, Buggy. Hearing this, the corners of Buggy's mouth rose slightly. Ivankov on the side was shocked, and then whispered. Hey, Buggy boy, this guy is a monster, are you sure you want to let him out? Buggy chuckled and patted Ivankov on the shoulder. Who is not a monster? Don't underestimate yourself, Ivan-chan. After finishing speaking, he ignored the stunned Ivankov and walked straight into the prison. This time Buggy didn't undo the chains of others as casually as before, but walked up to Bullet and raised his hand to press on the dozen seastone chains on his body. Kacha kacha kacha. After that, the seastone chains were broken one by one. Bullet, who was still worried about all the movements, saw Buggy approaching him and grinned at him. Brother Douglas, welcome out of prison. After hearing Buggy's words, Bullet froze for a moment, and seemed to think of the years on Roger's ship in his mind. The corners of his mouth involuntarily curled up, and then he snorted coldly. HMPH. I'm just doing it for Captain Roger's sake. Snapped. Having said that, Bullet took Buggy's hand and stood up. And at this moment, another voice came from the depths of the prison. I didn't expect you to be really a Buggy. It seems that you are looking for help now. In this case, let me, an old fellow, help Captain Roger. In addition, Duolingo and Sunbell are also here. 10 minutes later. There were a few more people around Buggy, and one of them asked to join them. It was the man with a golden hook on his right hand. Sir Crocodile. The latter looked at the people around Buggy at this time, and couldn't help but smile and said. Ha 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 ha. Clown Buggy, although I don't know what your ambitions are, but you have been pretending to be a little pirate with a bounty of only 15 million Bailey for so many years. Is it really worth it to expose myself completely for a Fire Fist ace now? Buggy and others, who were greeting and laughing with Jabba, Duolingo and Sunbell, all turned their eyes to Buggy after hearing what Crocodile said. Jabba and the others were also very surprised. Didn't expect that Buggy had been pretending to be a little pirate before? But after thinking about it, they really think there is a problem. After all, Shanks has now stood at the pinnacle of the times and become one of the 4 emperors of New World. That shouldn't be the case with the Buggy he's gifted to be. So he's really faking it? Just why expose it again? As for Buggy, it's a pain in the ass. Now he wants to tell Crocodile, is there a possibility that the previous Buggy is real? At this time, Crocodile was as surprised and shocked as he was when he saw Buggy become the 4 emperors for the first time when he read the comics. At that time, I also thought in my heart, has Buggy been pretending all the time? Thousands of Taoism. What an awesome title. As a result, in the next episode, Buggy was beaten up by Hawkeye and Crocodile. But now he needs to inherit Roger's legacy, referring to Jabba, Duolingo, Sunbel and Bullet, etc. So naturally he can't say that. With this in mind, Buggy solemnly spoke under the gaze of others. What I'm waiting for is a change that hasn't happened in 1,000 years. But right now, knowing that the only descendant of Captain Roger will be executed as a tool, how can I hide it? Sometimes I think, if this pig has been a pig for a long time, does it really become a pig? If I don't make a move this time, how can I meet the changing situation in the future? How can I have the face to embark on the bone-white road to becoming a king? Everyone present was shocked when they heard the words, and they all looked at Buggy with surprised eyes. Mr. 3 and the others behind were even more excited and trembling. So this is Captain Buggy's ambition, ha 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 ha. After hearing this, Crocodile opened his arms and laughed wildly. Although I don't know what the unseen changes you have been waiting for in 1,000 years are, I, Crocodile, am willing to accompany you on that road to becoming a king. The Clown King Buggy? This is a very good title. At this moment, the entire 6th floor Eternal Hell was also in commotion. They didn't expect that the Clown Buggy, who they thought was only 15 million Baileys, would have such ambitions. That's right. How can a man with such a powerful conqueror's hockey be willing to be mediocre? But compared to the excited Crocodile, Jabba looked at Buggy with complicated eyes and said, Buggy, you have been hiding for so long, but you were willing to expose yourself to save Captain Roger's child. A man like you is worth our lives for. The 4-meter-tall shark Murloc Sunbel grinned, showing his sharp teeth and laughing loudly. Blind ha 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 ha. Has that little Buggy grown up to this point now? Just for your behavior this time, let me, Sunbel, become a sharp sword on your kingly way? On the other side, a man with a black hair and beard, about 2.5 meters tall with a pair of small black wings behind his back also laughed and said, as expected of being a member of our Roger Pirates, Buggy, from now on, give me Duolingo the sky above your kingly way. Call. After saying that, the pair of cute little black wings on Duolingo's back suddenly grew bigger, and then 6 pairs of black wings appeared behind him, and a cold wind suddenly blew across the entire Eternal Hell. As soon as Duolingo's change came out, a slightly old voice of shock came from the depths of Eternal Hell. This is the human fruit, phantom beast, and fallen angel form. It's really scary. Roger Pirates, did they ever have such power? Not only the big pirates in Eternal Hell were shocked, but Jabba, Sunbel, and even Bullet looked at the man floating in the air with 6 pairs of black wings in shock. Duolingo you. I didn't expect that you guys have come to this step. So that's it, Duolingo, have you also awakened? Call. Duolingo in the sky flapped his wings and spun around, then laughed loudly. Isn't it inevitable to wake up? I can't do anything after being locked here for these years, so I can only think about fruit development. Even I myself didn't expect that the tasteless phantom beast species would undergo such earth-shaking changes after awakening. Buggy, I can't wait to go to the top battlefield you said to see now. Ha ha ha. Looking at the excited Duolingo, the corner of Buggy's mouth curled up. Then let's go, Duolingo, anyway, there are almost everyone here now. Eh? Let's go now. Sunbel on the side scratched the pointed fin on his head, won't you take other people away? Buggy shook his head. I don't worry about the others. Besides, there are not many soldiers but good ones. You are enough. Ivankov also agreed. Yes, we have to hurry up and set off, otherwise who knows when that fellow Magellan will find out. At this moment, Jabba on the side suddenly said, Buggy, take one more person away. Although that guy may be too old to move, he should still have combat power. Mainly, I don't want this old friend to be trapped in such a dark place for the rest of his life. Old friend? Since Jabba is your friend, bring it with you. Buggy raised his eyebrows in confusion. Hearing this, Jabba smiled, looked towards the deepest part of Eternal Hell and shouted, Leadfield, how long are you going to be silent? Do you really want to die here? How could a man like you spend the rest of his life in such a place?